How we doing, ladies and gentlemen? Jin CBR1 reporting in with a question this time from 2 days ago.
Looking from 2 days ago. What's up, Jim?
Yes.
Good to see you.
Yeah, nice. How you guys doing? I was having a discussion with a young man from England 2 days ago, and he seemed to be adamant that he uses the word we. We know the distances to the objects in the sky, the planets, via the methodology of using parallax. I stated that I couldn't accept the distance that they give us because we're not able to confirm whether or not that parallax is accurate because we can't go to confirm it. Now, am I wrong in holding that position? Can anybody help me? Here we go.
It's just parallax. He's talking about is a 6 month apart parallax.
Yeah, he was saying using parallax. Because obviously viewing it from different angles, the position changes. But how can we get any accuracy from that?
Yeah, how do you know you're viewing it from different angles?
Thank you. This is what I was saying. He says, well, we use it here on Earth. I said, well, here on Earth, if you're using parallax here on Earth where we live, we can confirm, can't we? We can go and check whether or not your findings and measurements and whatever can be proven. Okay. Is that not right? Or am I wrong?
If we're talking, sorry, it might be off, but you might want to know anyway. It's not something I've done, but it's something I've heard, and it's called negative parallax. If we're talking about any measurement of parallax, maybe Yoder knows about negative parallax. Have you heard that term before?
Yeah, I have.
Negative parallax.
There's parallax, negative parallax, and no parallax. And according to the Hipparchus catalog, it's evenly divided 30, 30, 30.
That's wild. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Alan and Shane did a presentation on this. I talked to them about it. But the question is, those parallax values are not just like observed. The value comes out by from theory, because you have this other thing, this stellar aberration. So stars, according to them guys, are only in apparent positions, right? And it's an apparent position because of if the Earth is in motion, that means the light's hitting it from an angle if it's going in one direction on the orbit, and then if it's going in the other direction, it's hitting it at a different angle. The same way, like if you were running in rain, right? If you're running sideways, it would be hitting you on the left if you're moving to the left, but if you're moving to the right, it'll hit you on the right. So they have to, and then there's something called proper motion. So they have to subtract all these from theory, and then whatever the result is, then they say, hey, if there was no parallax, it would be here, but we see it's not there and it's over here, so there's parallax. It's completely constructed from theory. It's not actually observed.
There's an extra 2 steps as well, which is they assume the location of the observer is rotated based on their location on the surface of the Earth.
Oh yeah, that's that too.
And then the second one is, the other way they do it is they wait 6 months to take the second measurement, because then they add in the base leg of the triangle to be the distance from the Earth to the Sun times 2.
Yeah.
And that's the only way they can get enough open angle to make a sufficient calculation. So there's all kinds of assumptions in this stuff. It's not just, oh, I'm just getting 2 angles. It's not that simple.
Yeah, that's why I asked right at the start about the 6 months.
Thank you.
Are we helping, Jin?
Oh, you guys are helping. Let me just give you all a round of applause because you've confirmed my position and the way I'm holding it. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen,
Jin, ask them this question. Whenever they say they've done parallax or triangulation, just ask them how you measure the baseline. Now their baseline is opposite ends of an orbit. How'd they measure that, right? And they didn't measure that shit, right? It's just like, right. So I just ask them, whenever they say that, I go, okay, fine. Let's check out the validity of the calculation of parallax. Okay, how'd you measure the baseline? And they just freak out because they don't have
Yeah,
anything.
Yes.
Jen, look in the chat real quick. I just posted images. So I searched in images, stellar parallax. This is the first results that come up. What's the problem? Look at the image and tell me what the problem is.
Well, I'm looking at the image you just posted. Hang on a sec.
These are the
Well,
top results from Google.
Yeah, they're completely different, aren't they? They're not. There's no coherency.
No. Think about what Indio just said. Look at the image. What they're showing you here is just what Indio told you. They're assuming their measurement base is a differential in an orbit of the Earth around the sun.
Okay, yeah, I see that now. Yeah.
Haven't they got an assumed, sorry, I can't see the picture so well, assumed angular tilt of the Earth?
Right.
Does that come into it?
Everything is assumed.
I wouldn't doubt it. Probably throw a wobble in there too.
Oh, yeah, because the position of the Earth has changed. Season 6 months. The other triangle where we observe 6 months later, where we look at, I'm presuming it's the North Star?
That's right. That's what I thought it was, North Star.
I mean, I'm just looking at one image and staring at it.
So you gotta think like this, like look at that image, Jen, right? Think of like there's two Earths and a sun. Disregard the sun. Okay.
Right.
That's in there for no reason. Okay. So you gotta imagine you got the Earth on the left is your left eye, the Earth on your right is your right eye. And as you know, alternating, opening your eyes, you see things shift, right?
Yes, that's the parallax right there. Yeah.
Okay, so you can, if you do this and you know how far your eyes are apart, you can calculate how far something is away from that shift. That's what they're saying they're doing, but they're not exactly doing that. And the thing is, you can measure the distance between your eyes. They're assuming the distance between those 2 points, right? The sides of each side of the orbit, the 6 month difference, right? Especially because of this, they have to say that the Earth's orbit is perfectly circular, nearly perfectly circular.
Yeah.
So it's very funny that the moon and the Earth, they have nearly, according to them, nearly perfectly circular orbits.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
And everything else is an ellipse, just not the Earth and the moon, like where we live.
Cheers, India.
Right?
I get that. Like, thank you, mate. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's why it was an hour and a half discussion. Because I was saying to them that, if you want to know about the curvature of the Earth, you don't look up. You're looking in the wrong direction here because you want to measure the surface of the Earth. So you can't look at the planets and start determining what's going on down here. And then he came up with this, well, we know the distance to the objects up there because we use parallax. And I said, well, as far as I'm concerned, parallax is not a precise and concise, accurate measurements here. You're assuming and guessing. Because, and then I did do give the example of the closing the left eye, looking at the object, and then I open my left eye and close the right eye, and the object moves to the right slightly. But how am I going? On Earth, I can go and measure that and check it, but I can't do that with those objects. I mean, so you're assuming here, surely. This is what, and this went on for about an hour.
No one's measured the orbital distance. I mean, no one's measured the distance to the sun. Right?
Yeah.
Like no one's measured any of these things. It's completely from theory. But here's another thing. It's also, as we pointed out in the beginning, cherry picking. Because if you have a negative parallax, that means the object, if you do the triangulation that you're looking at, is actually behind you.
Thank you.
Now, how would that work?
And
how would you look at an object that's behind you?
Yeah.
Right? So they have to throw out 30% of the data to even maintain that conclusion. They have to just eject it. And then another 30% that shows no parallax. I don't know if it should show parallax or not. I mean, I'm sure if you compared it to redshift. So this is a paper, they've known about this in astronomy since, I think the paper I have is from the 20s, at least. Now, here's the funny thing. The Hipparchus catalog is supposed to be from a satellite. So all the excuses for negative parallax were back when they just had, terrestrial telescopes. And some of their excuses were atmospheric conditions, refraction, you know the drill, right?
Yeah.
So they said this isn't a real thing. This is just like instrument error, meteorological conditions. It's something. This isn't a real thing. But now they've said it is a real thing because we have a satellite that measured it. Well, it destroys the entire theory of parallax altogether.
Well, there we are. See? Yeah. This argument went on for, like I said, an hour and 20 minutes. And I did mention the fact that they're going to need a horizontal baseline. I said that because we're living on a flat Earth. Now, you're saying you're on a globe. How do you get the angles from a curved surface? I did say that. I dropped that in.
Yeah, then there's that problem.
At the very beginning. Yeah. At the very beginning, you see, because they were saying that they could get angles of elevation and that from the surface. I says, no, you don't. Not if you need you're talking flat Earth. And then they muted me and carried on talking for like 20, 30 minutes. And then one of them said, well, Jin is still here because I wasn't going to leave because I still wanted to make my point. So 30 minutes later, they said, well, Jin's still here. Let's see what he's got to say. And the first thing I said to them was, angles are straight lines, mate. Those were the first words I said. So if you're talking of angles of elevation, you need a horizontal baseline because angles you're talking about are straight lines. Yeah, so it just kept on going like that. And I said, with your parallax, it's inaccurate. You're assuming a lot. We don't know. And you can't rely on parallax, right? I said, I'm going to dismiss it because it's not confirmable. I can't confirm the distance. I have to believe it or accept it. And I don't because nothing's been confirmed. Okay.
Yeah, it's garbage. But also, like I said, right, it comes from theory. So it's comparing an apparent position to a predicted apparent position, right, based upon no parallax. So you got a predicted apparent position based upon stellar aberration and proper motion, which is something to do with the orbit of the Earth. I'm not exactly sure, but it causes the stars. So it has two apparent positions caused by aberration and one by proper motion. Yeah. Now they calculate where it should be based upon those two, that theory, that hypothesis, that model, whatever you want to call it, right? So they go, okay, we're going to look. It should be at this place in the sky. So it's shifted. It's off by 1 arc second to the left.
Okay.
They go, okay, that shift is parallax, because we don't see it. We say it should be here, but it's not here. It's there. That little difference is the parallax angle.
Right. And then there was two of them.
Which is trash. This is all trash, Jin.
Yeah. There was two of them. There was the English guy, like I said. Then his colleague, the American, was saying, I conceded the argument when I dismissed the protractor that they're using. I said, look, if I'm going to measure the curvature of the Earth, I'm going to measure horizontally across the Earth. I'm not going to use a protractor in the sky. That's going to be inaccurate. I don't care because we don't know the distance to these objects. So why would I be using them to try and measure curvature on the Earth? I don't get it. I said, that's wrong. I said, that's not correct at all. That is the worst standard I've ever heard. Yeah, and that's when I got muted. Because I refused to accept that they could determine Earth's curvature using a protractor looking towards the celestial ceiling and the sky. And I said, no, you cannot. Yeah. So that's why I thought I'd bring it in and then let's discuss parallax and how the globers use it to say that they can know the distance to these objects, but they cannot. That's impossible because even if they infer, because they said, well, we're inferring. Well, that's not knowing. When you infer something, you're suggesting. You're not confirming anything here. So an inference isn't of any use still. I cannot accept your inference as a fact. Cannot.
Yeah, Jin, it's good to point out to the audience on why is it an inference. It's an inference because they don't have anything that's actually fucking measured.
Thank you. Yeah, they don't have a case.
Yeah, we inferred we can't measure the radius, so we inferred it from sticks and shadows, and then from that we inferred the distance of Venus, and then from that we inferred the distance of the sun, and from that we inferred the orbit, and from that we inferred the parallax, and from that we inferred the, you know what I mean? It's a big shit sandwich.
Yeah, it's an infer.
And this is something I found out recently, Jin.
Go on.
This is the reason that large language models, which are basically inference machines, why they shit the bed. Is because as soon as they make one fucked up mistake in the token, that inference just it continues on and just blows up.
Right. Much like the
so in 10,000 tasks, if you give a large language model something which it takes 10,000 steps to do, it has a 100% failure rate. 100%.
Yeah. It's much like the three-bodied problem, which has been highlighted, so that's the similar thing. Thank you. Yeah. So that was me, that was 2 days ago. I'm in this server called American First. That's what that server's called. It's in the politics. And I was in there discussing things that are going on currently with the wars and that. And then someone was talking about planets and the globe and all that. And then that's when I stepped in. I said, look, I agree with I
couldn't take it, could you?
Yeah. I said, I agree with what you're saying, but I just wouldn't use the word globe or planet because, as I've said earlier, Earth isn't a planet and we're not a globe. Yeah, I mean, come on, play the game properly. And that's when it began. And the English guy tried to give it some, younger than me anyway. I mean, I didn't ask his age, but I put him in his mid-20s, right? So he's, university graduate, he's into the sciences and that. But I said, there's a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of theories going on, assumptions, no actual confirmations, a lot of beliefs. And I quoted Carl Sagan when he stated that if a belief without confirmation and validation is a mistake. And that's what you're making because you're not confirming anything. You're just believing. And we don't believe in flat Earth. We don't do beliefs as such. We question everything. And then if we are going to offer a theory, we state it categorically that it is purely speculative. It is not the truth. It's our best guess. And you can dismiss it if you wish. That's it. So, we don't go around saying our theories are the truth. He didn't like that. He didn't like the integrity of the position of the flat earthers and then the integrity of his position, which he didn't want to accept. And that is, you don't know. When you infer and suggest, it means you're offering something that you don't know about. You're not sure. You haven't confirmed anything.
You're just saying all you're saying is this is possible. That's all you're saying.
Yeah, that's right.
Lots of things are possible, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, guys. This is why we come back to home base when I'm busy out there doing the flat earth outreach. It's great to come back to 24/7. And this is home base. Look at what the knowledge, length and breadth of the knowledge. And you see how simple it is. It would explain to you, ladies and gentlemen. Be sure to keep listening. There's more to come. Thanks, guys. That was brilliant. Yeah. Sick.
Yeah, well, it's good to see you too, Jen.
Yeah, great to see you there, India. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm back home. So I'll post some resources in the chat that I have about the parallax.
Okay. Yeah. I did look it up before I came in anyway. Before I came in, I did look up through Siri just to be sure, what is meant by parallax. And it offers up that it's the angles when you move around, looking at an object from different angles, basically, is what your parallax is at. That's what it says. Yeah.
There is one thing about that. One thing about that, Jen, is that for the model to yield precise measurements, you have to assume straight line rays from the observation location as a point to the target location as a point. Now, if they agree that you can measure things trillions of miles away with parallax, they first have to agree that you can measure things with parallax at a local level. And if they agree that the local must obviously be greater than the far, then that means that if you're doing parallax measurements on the Earth or within, a few hundred miles, that should be more accurate. Now, here's the thing, Jim. When you apply parallaxial stereography, which is, just a method of using different pictures taken in the manner you described, you apply them to the moon mission photos, and you find out that the objects in the background are supposed to be, like 1,000 meters away, but they're actually less than a few hundred meters away. And that proves that the terrain that they said was on the moon, the distances don't match the photos that they presented, and it's actually more accurate with being in a studio. So if they say Parallax can tell me what distance the stars are, then you say, oh, well, can Parallax tell me what distance the mountains are from the pictures of the moon? And then you could show them that information and debunk their moon missions. Also, Jen,
Yeah.
Jay Tolman, if you've never seen this, he found this old thing. It's called machine vision algorithm for parallax, right? And it can actually measure the motion of things in a moving picture and determine how far away things are in the near ground and the far ground. Because you know that when you look out over an image towards the horizon, all of the imagery as it approaches the horizon gets compressed, but it's still moving across your field of view in a fashion which can be measured, and that can be used to get parallax measurements. And when he applies it to the surface of the Earth, even with his infrared high altitude footage out the side of a plane window, he gets multiples of distance between him and the horizon of actual land that doesn't comport with the globe at all. In fact, he's talking that it puts the curvature out to 1,000,000 miles in some of his images. And so if they're going to say parallax, 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 well, you could show them these other two examples, which is using the same principle that demonstrates that, one, the moon mission photos were clearly faked, or two, that when looking out across the surface of the Earth, you're not looking at a curving surface in the manner in which they described. You're actually looking at an extensive, practically horizontal surface.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for the images being posted in the side chat, because I'm looking at those images. So that's what I mean. You come to home base.
Jen, if you promise me, that your next priority will be to watch those two things, I'll post them for you.
Okay, you put them in there. I'll watch them. Why not?
Well, trade. One you have to read, and the other you can watch. One's an article, and one's a thing. So give me a second, I'll post it. But you can go ahead and talk.
Okay, yeah. I was just saying, thanks for the material being posted, because it's all very helpful. And I stood my ground because I just completely knew that you cannot rely on parallax regarding the objects in the sky. Now, here on Earth, yes, as AI stated that, if you're talking within 100 miles, okay, but you'd still have to confirm that. It's not a given, even here on Earth. But at least we can confirm. That's the thing. But we cannot confirm with those objects up there. You just can't. It's just impossible. You cannot rely on parallax and then say the distance. Those are the distance. We know the distances, especially as we're not even an oblate spheroid. So already it's finished just there from the very beginning. Flat Earth debunks that just there.
So I just posted a link. This web page is nuked, so it's on Web Archive. But this is from an Oxford professor.
Cheers, Indio. Right, nice.
Now, Alan, I know you, like, that's why I was curious. Like, you were on a normie server, but Globers, at least the ones that have interacted with Alan and Shane, don't dare bring this up, because what would negative parallax mean physically? Think about it for a second. What could that possibly mean physically? If their contention's true, that the stars are very distant and that we're in an orbit and we can see the parallax shift because being on the opposite sides of the orbit, what would a negative parallax mean physically? It's irrational. Can't mean anything physically.
Right.
It would mean that whatever the object, if you took the premise is true, that means the object I'm looking at is behind me, which is obviously fucking stupid, right?
Right, exactly, because like they said, negative parallax. Or the other thing I would imagine would be the image is, it's not moving then. Negative parallax. It means that nothing's happening. Negative. Positive parallax. Object is moving when I check it from the angle.
No,
negative.
the positive is the shift, is how much it shifts, right? It's supposed to shift in, but instead of shifting in, it shifts out.
Out.
You understand?
Right.
So on the opposite sides of the orbit, it shifts out instead of shifting in.
Right, yeah.
So if you drew that triangle, the intersection point is behind you.
Yeah, ridiculous. Yeah, this is what I mean. It's just absurd when you look at it like that.
Yeah, and like I said, this isn't like 1 or 2%. This is like 30% of the observations.
Yeah.
And that can only mean one thing. Their premise is false, right? The whole premise of orbit, distance, distant star, all that, it's all wrong. It has to be. But what are they going to do, right? They're going to go back like, oh, shit, dude. We've been wrong since 1878. Give us some more money to figure it out. You're like, nah, go kick rocks, stargazers. We're going to fucking build more missiles or something. It'd be better to build missiles than give them more money.
Oh, hold on, brother. Remember, it all works perfectly with the globe.
Oh,
Good,
that's what they like you to believe. That's what they like you to believe, Jen. But the truth is, like he said, it's probably 30% of observations are even plausible with the globe. And they just throw out the rest and they say, well, all of those are anomalous. It's like, no, dude, you can't have 60% be the anomaly, dude.
Jin, are you in the Ether Cosmology server?
No, I'm not in that server. No.
Yeah, because I want to link you to a post Alan made. It's just a bunch of citations and PDFs on the reason appearance and negative. Like, there's a whole bunch. These guys. Hold on. Let's see if they made a video about this, because I'm almost 100% sure they did. That way you can just, you don't have to read all this. Why reinvent the wheel?
Yeah, I'm just bookmarking the one you've sent just now. So I've collected that and I'm putting that into my bookmark now. So I'll look at it later on. I'm putting it into my favorites. Yeah, there we go. Okay, and now I'm saving that right now. Yeah, that's good, solid information that I can then read for myself and then bash them on the head with it. I said, you're not arguing with me now. You're arguing with the experts here who explain it and lay it out for you. Because you explain it to them on a basic level, and they're just totally adamant that I'm wrong. But I knew I was definitely adamant that I'm going to come in and come to home base and just double check, because I know I'm right. If you're inferring something, that means you're not really confirming anything here, and then you're asking us to accept what hasn't been confirmed. That would be a belief. I can't do that. So no, I don't accept that the distances are known to those objects. But no, they're not known. The same with spectroscopy as well, because they're using that to tell us what these objects are and their makeup due to these thermal temperatures and color codes, which is just crap, absolute nonsense. That's the other thing I have a problem with. On a local level here on Earth, probably yes, I can accept one or two observations being made with spectroscopy, but now you extrapolate that to those objects in the sky. Now the accuracy and potency is well lost. You cannot do that. We don't have that technology to know that through the atmos we have, the air, and then onto the object. And now you're going to tell me what it's made of. Come on.
Take a second and copy those links down.
Oh, cheers, man.
And then anybody else who's interested could also look at them. One is using Parallax, looking out over high altitude observations across the Earth towards the horizon to demonstrate that the amount of land between you and the horizon is much, much, much greater than the alleged globe Earth would allow. And then the other one is using Parallax to demonstrate that the objects in the background on the moon missions are clearly not where they're supposed to be. And it's actually more juicy than that. He actually shows that it's more than likely a curved backdrop in a studio.
Pretty interesting. Yeah. Interesting, yeah. There was a Russian guy who analysed the photographic, especially when on the lunar surface and the LEM, and he highlighted the joint between the stage and the backdrop, highlighted that line, and then gave the distance from where the camera took the shot and how many meters and everything. You know, from
now
the
photograph. The principle in these two is that as something is moving, right, especially in the one, if something is moving, it's going to be tracking across your field of view at different angular rate depending on the distance that it is away from you. And then obviously the other one is similar, but it's more using different images from a static location to just get the angle difference. But it's the same principle. It's like as you move in the foreground, things in the background are going to be displaced in your field of view a certain amount of angle. Like, and that's just a geometric fact. Like, there's no way around it. You can't trick it.
Right. Okay, yeah.
Unless the other object, well, hold on, Jen. Unless the other object itself is moving. But, you know, you assume that a mountain isn't moving around to try to trick you. You know, it's kind of like where it is, and you're moving around it, not the other way around. So, I mean, unless somebody's going to appeal to that the mountains, you know, like crawl to give you a different parallax reading just to make, you know, trick people. I mean, come on now.
Yeah, so I put it in a bookmark and then I forward it to my own flat Earth server. Brilliant. Yeah, yeah. And you know what they do? They then try to accuse me of assuming flat Earth, and then I asked them at what point and where did I assume? Right, and then they couldn't prove it. The American guy got tired of muting me, so he just left. So it just left me and this British guy, and then that went on for another like 30 minutes, and then he gave up as well in the end. Because I'm that guy. I'll stay there 2, 3, 4 hours. If you're going to start lying, I'm going to be there. Because you know. So I'm sorry. You know, the truth will win every time I'm in the room. I'm not going to have you tell me that I'm wrong when I know you're wrong. Yeah. So it was this same old character assassination. You're assuming misrepresentation of what you've said, and then trying to say and everything else. And I said, well, actually, the fields you're talking about cannot be considered science. They're considered pseudoscience because you're not really adhering to the scientific method, because you can't. You can't actually manipulate your dependent variable and independent variables because they're out of your reach if you're talking about other objects and you're looking through lenses and a tube. So where's the science going on there? And even Michio Kaku stated himself that no one in his field uses what's known as the scientific method. We do it by the seat of our pants. It's pure guesswork. That's what he said, you know? So at least he was honest to admit that. That's telling you that cosmology isn't a science. They don't do any science. Same with astronomy and astrology. But, you know, they just shouting at the top of their heads that I was wrong and I'm retarded, muting. There you go.
This is America First?
Yes, that's
okay,
right.
Yeah, I've talked to those guys before, too. They have a beef with the locker room if you ever get if you ever talk to them.
Okay.
It's kind of fun. They're not really into the concept of, you know, the science and everything. And in their point of view, that they're mega, or what they call it, make America great again. They see like the space race as the high watermark for American exceptionalism. That's what they want. They want that again right now with the Artemis program.
Yeah, yeah, that's what they were talking about.
Yeah,
so
telling them the Earth is. Yeah, so you tell them the Earth is flat. What you're basically telling them is that their dream of the great America, it will never happen now. And back then, it was a lie too.
Yeah. That's what they were doing when they put me on mute. That's exactly what they were talking about. Exactly what you mentioned. Go ahead.
That's so fun. That's weird though, because think about it. If their conclusion is if the Earth is flat, the moon is impossible to travel to. So you can only travel to an object from another object if the Earth is a globe. Like, how does that even make sense?
Exactly. Stupid. And then I highlighted what we've all been saying for all these years is that if you yourselves haven't measured the curvature of the Earth, right, to get that radius, then you know that the moon landings could never happen. We're telling you it's flat. There was no radius. You know, that was never there. So how could you get those distances in the first place? You know, and yeah, they, you know, shouting, more muting. Yeah, but it's just one of, when you know the truth, you know the truth, as you well know. So, ladies and gentlemen, in the final analysis, when you hear people saying we know the distances to these objects, they do not know the distance at all. Nobody knows. No human being knows those distances. No one. Anyone telling you, they're telling you stories. It's going to be estimates, speculative, theoretical, parallax, if you will. Nothing's been confirmed. Arbitrary numbers, pulling them from the back of their bums. That's all. It's just thin air, pulling these numbers out. And that's what Nikola Tesla stated, that the mathematicians and the scientists are moving from one mathematical formula to the next, to the point where these formulas have no relationship to reality. This is Nikola Tesla. Okay? So there you are. And the young guy was talking about these distances with such confidence. Yeah, but we know. Hang on. You don't know because parallax is inaccurate. It's not been confirmed at all. I'm sorry. Get out of here. You don't know. You haven't done
Not
any measuring
inaccurate.
yourself. Yeah.
Jen, like, they haven't even demonstrated it's even doing what they think it's doing.
Yeah.
That it's
Yeah.
measuring anything at all, period, other than this star was over here instead over there. Like, that's the only thing that's actually being measured.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
And
make
it's
sure you're
not even over
qualified.
here as opposed to over there, because that first value, the over here
Yeah.
instead of over there, the over there is calculated.
Yes.
It's not even
Yes.
like a real over there.
That's right.
Should have been over there. And that's what it is. It's a should have been. But
Should have
the
been,
funny
could have
thing,
been, would have been.
like, listen, what I want to tell you, the link I post you is it's like presentation style. So Alan walks through the whole theory, the whole fucking idea of negative parallax. Then he goes into the negative parallax and has citations and quotes and all that crap. Alan's pretty thorough when it comes to stuff like that.
Yeah,
They
I
do presentations
scrolled
all
through
the
it
time.
just now. I did scroll through it. I saw it. Yeah, thanks. Definitely going to look at that. I bookmarked it. I had a quick scroll as we were talking. Yeah, there's a lot of material to get through, and that's good. It's in depth, without a doubt. Yeah.
Dude, look, bro, I was looking at some of my old posts about this. I mean, it falsifies the heliocentric model. Like, it proves that the whole thing, just that if the existence of negative parallax invalidates all the geometry. Just if they say yes, there is negative parallax, that's it. It's done. You just like are just saying the whole entire heliocentric model, the whole cosmology is wrong because it can't exist within it.
Yeah. There you are.
Or they have to say everything is fucking apparent, everything's a fucking illusion, everything is based upon some other phenomenon. Like, we don't see the light directly. There's some other phenomenon happening that makes the light fucking appear there when it's really behind you. I mean, they would have to construct some crazy fucking nonsense, right? But I like I said, I looked at one of my old posts, the arguing with one of these globe trolls and telling them the negative parallax falsifies the heliocentric model, and it does. It completely falsifies it. So if they want to, I remember when I was talking about it, I was bringing it up. Like, oh, what about parallax? This is the stars. What about this negative parallax thing? They don't want to talk about any. They don't want to talk about that. They don't ever want to talk about that. That's one. That's like a. That's
it's like
a
the electric
thing
rail on the
all run
subway.
away from.
Yeah,
Don't run away from it fast as shit, bro.
Okay, yeah. So basically, I was going to say is that
So if you want to clear the room,
they're drowning in too many theories. That's their problem.
Jen, if you want to clear the fucking chat, dude, a VC with a bunch of gold cards in it, say, hey, I want to talk about negative parallax. That fucking VC will empty so fucking quick, it isn't even going to be funny.
Okay, well, I'm going to bear that in mind. Once I've revised and familiarized myself with it, to make a stronger argument, I'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Once you, it's a very simple concept to understand.
Yeah.
When you watch that, you'll understand it right away. It's not complicated, and then you're going to realize how crazy negative parallax is, and then you're going to go, "This is just like the death knell for the globe."
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Those death knells that are just in the coffins. Yeah.
Yeah, just fucking get down on one knee, bow your head down so I can decapitate you. You're done.
You're done. It's all over. Yeah, they're drowning in so many theories that they're lost now. They're tangled up and they can't untangle it because one is knocking like a domino effect. So one's knocking out the other one. Yeah, like you said, it's destroying the heliocentric model.
Yeah, and Jen, they went all in on these claims, dude. We know this. We know this 100% certain. You're a science denier. They went all in on this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what they were saying to me, especially the guy from, as a graduate of his so-called sciences. He was just accusing me of a science denier. But I kept saying to him, but what you're talking about isn't science. You're not listening to the English language. You know, what you're talking about isn't actually, it's pseudoscience. What I said.
Yeah, Jen, you say, you haven't given me any science to deny.
Yeah, I said that. I actually said that. That's exactly what I said. You haven't given me any scientific evidence that I can actually deny or proof. I'm not denying anything because you haven't said anything. You brought to me pseudoscience and I don't accept it. Like I said, this argument went on for about an hour and 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Yeah.
Wow. In a non-flat Earth Discord too. That's crazy. I'm surprised they let it go on like that.
Well, there was only 4 of us. There was 8 of us in there, and then 4 of them left, dropped off, ding, 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 because obviously this was going to go on. And then I got muted for a short while whilst the other 2 were discussing how we flat earthers do this and do that, deny this, do this.
Of course,
yeah. Right, you know what I mean? And then he was talking about the...
Then you become the topic, right? That's what they always do. Like I was me and Jose were in a server one time. It was like a debate server. They had invited us in, and me and Jose are fucking smoking them. And they just muted us and just talked about us. Like, yep, that's about it. Like, you run out of arguments, then we become the topic because you can't actually address the topic.
Yeah, that's right, you see. So they were talking about how flat earthers do this and deny that, etc. And then after 20 minutes of them talking, he said, shall we unmute him now? And then the American guy goes, no, I'm tired. I don't want to go on about this anymore. Don't want to talk about flat Earth, he said, right? But then the guy goes, the English guy goes, yeah, but I want to hear his point on the angles and that, And first thing I said was, angles are straight lines. And if you're talking straight lines, you're talking flat Earth language, because you cannot have any of your angles of elevations without your horizontal baseline put in place. And by the way, all our leveling tools that we have on Earth today that we use in industry came after the flat Earth. We're using it because of the flat Earth. The flat Earth helps us to create these instruments. That's what you don't seem to understand. That just blew them to pieces. Yeah, they just, just kept on arguing about Parallax.
Have you ever heard this one? Tell me one good thing a flat earther invented. You ever heard that?
Yeah, that's right.
You know what the answer to that is now, Jen? The wheel. We invented the wheel. You got a better invention than the wheel? I don't think so.
I said that to someone the other day, bro.
Yeah, the wheel. There you go. There you go.
Dude, if they thought the Earth was a ball, no one would have ever invented a wheel. How could it work? Right? You'd be pushing uphill half the time.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then what about going down the hill? If you haven't got good brakes, you're finished. You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we invented the wheel. What did you invent?
Yeah, exactly.
We invented rocket ships. Yeah, nobody uses them.
Yeah, they spoke about rocket ships going to space and all that, in spite of all the information I gave them and the obstacles that they would have to have surmounted that they didn't surmount and that, Yeah, it was good. I covered a lot of ground in that hour and 20 minutes, and I just smashed. And remember, they also muted me for like 20 minutes.
You guys believe in gravity?
Well, no, they brought that up. No, we don't believe in gravity because gravity, the way it's been described, I don't accept. It's not been proven, and I can't accept it. So if you think you can prove gravity to us now, please take us through the steps of how you would prove gravity.
So what do you believe in then, if not gravity?
I believe in nothing.
Jin,
Yeah.
maybe perhaps we should ask him what his idea of gravity is. He might just say gravity is things falling down at approximately 9.8 meters per second squared.
Well, this is what I wanted to find out from him. Let him describe how he would prove gravity, because Sir Isaac Newton didn't prove it. He disagreed with that mass attracting
not
mass.
proving it first, Jin. Questioning what he thinks it is. So, juice to orange. What do you believe, or what do you perceive gravity as?
Yeah, what is gravity?
It's an attraction between two objects that have mass, right? I mean,
well, no, not right for us. You're telling us, remember? Can you now prove that, please?
That's the outdated version. That's the outdated version. Yeah,
right.
It's not what they think anymore. That's not what your theoretical physicists say. But anyway, go on.
No, because the view can develop. For example, the view that Einstein had.
No, it's not only developed, bro. That notion has been totally dismissed by your theoretical physicists. That's not what they think anymore. No attraction between masses.
Can you send me what you're talking about, perhaps?
There's no attraction. There's no forces. In fact, the definition of mass. Hold on. The definition of mass is, dude. The definition of mass is completely different. The definition of mass under Newton is a quantity of matter. Under Einstein, it's resistance to acceleration. So the definitions are completely different.
I don't think that addressed the point. I know that they had a different view because with Einstein, he came with his different theories.
Theory.
Yeah, I mean, look, but the concept of gravity is still, I mean, for the most part, the same. It's just that it's not a force. It's not a force. That's the difference.
It's not a theory.
Yeah, if it's not a force, then there's no attraction.
No, there could be an attraction. It's just because a force is in physics is something like like the formula F equals m times a, like mass times acceleration.
No, a force is not a formula, sir. A force is not a formula.
I mean, in physics, I'm talking about in the
science is empirical. It isn't based upon equations.
What? What do you mean?
Science is the systematic study of the natural world and the things in it, and it's empirical, meaning it's based upon experiment and observation, not calculations and theory. If you have a calculation or theory, it's not correct until you go out into the natural world and make the observation or make the experiment.
So, if it's not calculation and all that, so you can't measure speed then, I suppose.
Speed doesn't exist, dude.
What?
You can't directly measure speed. Yeah, I'm dead serious. What do you measure? If I want to measure quote unquote speed, what do I actually measure?
You measure how far something goes dividing
Okay,
it
so I have
by
a clock
time.
and I have a tape measure. Can you measure speed with a clock and a tape measure? No, it's
With
indirect, right? It's a relationship between time and distance, right? So speed, as
Yeah.
in and of itself, is an abstract quantity. It doesn't actually exist as a thing.
No, you can't measure it.
Oh God! Give me the instrument that directly measures speed.
I mean, you just start with a certain time, right? You begin with a certain
Yeah, a
time,
clock.
and then
Clocks don't measure speed.
No.
Yeah, clocks directly measure time. They don't
It
measure
measures.
speed.
No, but it measures how long does it take for this object go from point A to point B, and then you see how far is point A and B far away from each other. Let's say 10 meters, and it took you 2 seconds. It will be 10 divided by 2, which is 5 meters per second.
Okay, you didn't measure speed, brother.
What?
You measured time and distance.
Well, speed is nothing more than these two.
Oh, speed is the relationship of those two things.
You're the first person I've heard that said that.
Well, I mean, that's because I'm intellectually honest. See, this is a thing that's like in the past that like because they were rigorous in the 1800s, they have a name for this. It's called an improper quantity because it can't be directly measured. It's calculated from things that are directly measured, right? So something that can be directly measured is what's called a proper quantity, and things that cannot be directly measured and are inferred from relationships of proper quantities are called improper quantities. Speed is an improper quantity. Now, don't read into this is just what they named it. It doesn't mean it's wrong or that you can't use it. It's just, these are the things that it's named. Improper quantity, proper quantity. Speed is an improper quantity. Can't directly measure it. There's no instrument that measures speed. You can measure time, which is a proper quantity. You can measure distance, which is a proper quantity, but the speed thing is not. But science is empirical regardless. And we're getting way off the point. The point is that you mentioned gravity. Now, okay, let's say you have a theory of gravity. Does it predict Earth would be a ball?
I mean, I don't know that.
Then why are you bringing it up?
No, it was a question to you guys. Like, I know.
Well, who cares about it if it doesn't predict? Who cares the existence or non-existence of gravity? Who cares about it if it doesn't say anything about a flat Earth?
Oh, the comment was not against flat Earth itself. I was wondering if you guys believe in gravity. This wasn't even.
But what do you mean by that?
Well,
what do you mean by believe in gravity? Like which
motive?
What? No, because hold on, no. When people come in here and they say gravity, they mean different things. Different people mean different things. Some mean Einstein. Some mean the universal law of gravitation. Some mean things falling. Right? Those are all different things. So, which gravity are you talking about? The mass attracts mass, inversely proportional to the square of distance. That gravity, or little g, I drop something, it falls. Because if I ask you why something fall, you'll say gravity. But that gravity, little g, is not the big G gravity, which is every particle in the universe attracts every other particle inversely proportional to the square of the distance. That's a theory, whereas something falls, that's known empirically from dropping shit. Which one are you talking about?
Oh, I mean, I was thinking
dropping
more generally.
Something?
No, not dropping. I mean, that's gravity is trying to explain some of these phenomena, like the fact that you dropped, let's say, an apple. No, I'm not talking about just the phenomena itself. I'm talking about what explains the phenomena.
Yeah, but that's fine.
No,
you can have
nobody knows.
I can explain the. Go ahead, Tito. Sorry.
No, I'm sorry. It's a bit late. I'm just saying nobody knows, and they even admit it. They have ideas and they come up with concepts and theories, right? And they say that sometimes they're able to use these ideas mathematically to predict certain things, but overall, it fails, and they know that they're wrong, and they really don't know.
So what would you say then?
I would say I believe in gravity in the sense that there is definitely a reason why matter is distributed the way it is and does, but nobody knows why. There is no scientific validation for it. There is no experiment that you can possibly come up with to test the reason why.
So you're just appealing to ignorance.
No. He's pointing out that your explanation could be used as a hypothesis. And if you're going to say that gravity causes, you're not going to be able to validate that hypothesis. It's not falsifiable. You can't vary and manipulate gravity. You said you had an explanation earlier, right?
No, I didn't. He was asking me about gravity, what gravity is.
Yeah, and we're talking about the difference between the object falling, right, and the phenomena of it falling causes it to fall, right? And you say, well, gravity causes that, or Newton come up with an idea of attractive, or Einstein described it as the bending and warping of space-time, right? These explanations, are they hypotheses, or are they just ideas?
I mean, I suppose there's a theory behind it. That's why it's called the theory of gravity.
Okay. Yeah, there's an idea about gravity. There's many different ideas, right? The theory of Einstein's theory, let's say, and Newton's theory, let's say, to keep the words loose. But basically, I'm asking you, these are explanations, Einstein's or Newton or whoever's theory, to use your words, can they be scientifically validated to be true?
I'm talking about when Einstein is trying to explain gravity by like space and time curving. Is that what you're asking if that can be proven?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't believe in his metaphysics. I don't even agree with his view on space and time.
It doesn't matter whether you agree on it. Do you reckon it has or hasn't been scientifically verified?
No, I don't believe you can prove these things because I don't believe these are things that can be accessed by empiricism to begin with. I don't believe time is something you can empirically.
Yeah. That's what T-Dub's saying. And understanding that they cannot go through the scientific methods. So these explanations are not scientifically viable. Einstein,
there's
one
explanations,
specifically.
but it doesn't make them scientific explanations.
No, I mean, I agree with that.
The only way you can get the only way you can get a scientific explanation is to do an experiment.
I don't agree with what you said previously, though. I don't agree with the part about speed. Because I think speed you can actually measure.
Sorry, I just want to read this out because it's the only reason why. Then you can go speed all you want. It's the only reason I jumped in. The most fundamental error is to mistake the hypothesis for an explanation of phenomena. I was talking about gravity and whatnot, without performing experimental tests. Sometimes common sense and logic tempt us into believing that no test is needed. There are numerous examples of this, dating from the Greek philosophers to the present day. So all I'm trying to point out, it's nice to have explanations. We can come up with multiple explanations, but none of them are scientifically viable.
So what's your view of science then? What do you see science as?
Science is a method. Natural science, the observation of the physical and natural world, by which we make an observation, think happening, and then we make a prediction as to what causes that to happen. We then take the independent and dependent variable from the hypothesis into an experiment and vary and manipulate our presumed cause to see if it causes the phenomenon or not. We can then repeat and make sure that this is completely falsifiable. So anybody else who does the same thing works along the same lines. The experiment will also contain a control variable, all things being kept equal, where you only change your presumed cause. Scientific method, right?
Do you believe in God?
Well, that was a fucking jump. Just pardon my language. Well, how is that relevant?
No, it's a different question.
I realised this. I thought we were talking about gravity. What caused things to fall down? Because we'll agree that things fall down, but we don't agree on the cause of it. Because we understand that we can't vary and manipulate what caused it to happen outside of relative density. Maybe God made it happen.
Sorry, if I can just interject there, because I agree with everything you said there. We can also use science in manufacturing. For example, the manufacturing of a motorcycle tire. That will definitely be using science because of the materials, the rubber, the amount of traction and grip you want, the length of duration of the tire, the structure of the tire, under pressure of different temperatures. So you're going to be using the natural environment that we live in and apply that to the rubber that I've made, my tire, and I want to now use it and see how I get grip. And that's just in the dry. It may be absolutely useless in the wet. Now I have to work with a new rubber formula that grips on wet surface. Can you see how we can employ science here? Because we're going to be doing a lot of manipulating of rubber compounds. You see? So science is something that we can actually employ as well in manufacturing, in all kinds of things. Okay? Does that make any sense to anybody?
Do you flat earthers believe in God? I'm just asking.
And how is that relevant to the shape of the ground, my friend?
No, it's not. It's a different question.
Because I'll give you an example. Let's say I do believe in God, and my good friend here, Jin, does not. That does not make the ground flat on his side and curved on mine.
Yeah, I know.
Has no relevance. So, yeah, whether someone believes in something non-related or not, that is totally up to them.
Look, calm down, bro. Like, you think I'm here to argue?
I'm not attacking you, my friend. You've brought up a non-related subject matter. It has nothing to do with the shape of the ground. So as you probably can tell by my tone, we are not overly interested.
Oh.
Does it offend you that I'm asking whether you believe in God?
It doesn't offend me. It has nothing to do with the shape of the ground. So let's play along with your hypothetical. Yes, I believe in God. So how does that affect the shape of the ground? How does that validate it or disprove it that I am now a believer?
You see how I said from the beginning it's not an argument? Then the first thing is...
See how you're dodging the question. Why are you dodging your own question? You asked if I believed in God. And I've said, yes, I'm going to play along with your game. Now, please enlighten me on how this is relevant to the shape of the ground.
Yeah, look, I'm actually answering a question. I'm saying that I started with asking you this question, right? Then the first thing you started with was saying, let's entertain this hypothetical. You only do this when you argue. Like, I'm not here to argue.
I'm doing this because I'm not fucking interested. You don't take a hint.
Why are you offended? What about that?
Listen, you seem to have this idea that I'm offended. I'm not offended. I'm not interested. There's a difference between being offended and not interested. So I'm not offended that you believe some people are religious. We know some people are religious. This is a fact. What it has to do with the shape of the ground is null.
Yeah. Why did you ask hang on. Why did you ask the question? Why did you ask the question? That's the question I'm asking you. Why did you ask the question? Go ahead.
Because I'm curious.
Yeah. Why?
Okay.
Why are
fair
you
enough.
curious? What inspires that
What
curiosity?
do you mean? Can I not ask a question?
Why?
What's the problem?
Why does it? What is spurring your curiosity?
No, because I'm just wondering. I usually
Do you
debate
ask
people
everybody
about.
What are you
this?
doing, dude?
Is this a question you ask everyone that you come across, that you meet in life?
In this server? No,
Are you trying to
No,
convert us, dude?
everyone, bro.
You're trying to convert us, Jedi. That must be it. He's trying to convert us to.
I was wondering.
I want to be a Mooney.
I was wondering how these flat earthers will view like the idea of God, because
Yeah, did we bring it up? Did we bring up God though, bro?
I thought we were talking about gravity.
He's trying to
did we
tie
bring
us
it
to
up?
God, Indio. So he's thinking along the lines of they must be heavily religious. That's how they got their views of flat Earth.
Yeah, that's because he's heavily religious.
That's not how I
Yeah, that's because you're religious. Because you're in a fucking globe cult, and you think anybody that's not in your cult must practice a different religion.
I mean, I didn't say.
You're in a cult, Juice.
No.
Juice, do you think the globe is a cult?
Reading too much into this.
No, we're not. It's a gimmick you guys do so you can hand wave dismiss everything we say by saying we're a bunch of religious nuts. It's a gimmick. We're well versed in it.
For not being offended, you sound very offended.
No, Matrix said he wasn't offended. I am offended.
Okay, I mean, look, at least you admit it.
Hey, chill out, bro. It's okay. They just don't want to answer the question. Why you got to keep bugging and wanting them to answer the question?
It's like asking us if our favorite what's our favorite color. It's like asking us what our favorite color is, Juice. It's irrelevant.
I'm just asking a question. It shouldn't be offensive.
Yeah, and you're asking the question for what purpose?
I mean, I'm just curious.
So you're bored.
Why are you upset about it, Orange?
Okay.
Yeah, why did I come here and ask you?
Yeah.
Why did I come here and ask you why you guys believe in flat Earth?
Yeah.
Because I'm curious.
Hang on a minute. How important is whether or not we believe in God or not? How important is that to you?
I mean, knowing whether you believe in flat Earth is not important either, but I asked you as well.
Okay, but you're not answering my question though. How important is it to you whether or not we believe in God? Just answer that question.
I'm saying none of it is important to me. Not even my first question, but you entertain it as well.
Yeah, but you asked about flat Earth, so obviously you have an interest. That's why you ask. You can't come into the server and say, I don't care about flat Earth, but then you're asking about flat Earth questions. Come on.
No, because I was curious.
Come on.
Because I was curious. That's why I asked.
Okay. Okay.
Why did none of my previous questions offended you, but this one?
Yeah, because listen, brother, this is the problem. This is the problem. Hold on, let me just lay it out for you. We are not the topic. You're trying to make us the topic. The topic is flat Earth versus globe Earth, not flat Earthers. Flat Earthers are not the topic. Whether we like the color blue, whether we're religious, whether we're fucking have a wooden leg, none of that shit matters. We are not the topic.
Do you feel ashamed in believing in God? I don't understand.
Now, dude, I just told you we are not the topic. Why are you asking me how I feel?
Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
God.
Let's make you the topic. Dude, are your parents related by blood? Let's make you the fucking topic.
I feel he's got uncle
if your
cousins.
parents are related by blood, then the Earth's a globe.
I mean, that's not how I never made an argument, first of all. I just asked you a question.
Do you understand? But do you understand what I'm saying? We are not the topic. Okay? The topic isn't the flat earthers in this chat.
Look, if I offended you, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So you're
okay, you're offending me because you're fucking thick. Okay? Get it through your head. We're not the topic, dude, but you can't stop doing it. Why can't you stop?
We know what sea lining is, and you're doing it.
I don't even know what that
means.
means.
When you say, I'm sorry I offended you, you made me the topic again.
No, look, okay. I'm not going to... Okay, I take back my apology. I take back my apology. Let's leave it. No, I'm saying let's leave it. Let's turn to another page. Let's start over again.
Oh my
Did we reach the conclusion about gravity?
Yeah, let's start over. How does gravity prove a globe?
How is this relevant to what I said?
Hold on, we said you were starting again.
No, but you guys asked me. You every time I asked another question, you guys told me how
just
it relates
reset.
to the previous one.
Go and tap the red button on the side of your head. Do a full reset for us, just please.
How are you?
I think let's all just breathe in and out and let's start over.
Yeah, I've been breathing in and out for ages, waiting for you lot to stop. Hoping we could get back to the subject of the flat. Was the question of gravity relieved? Are we done with?
Yeah, that's why I asked another question.
Okay. So that question wasn't really relevant. You're probably going to get a lot of different answers from the multitude of flat earthers, different types of gods, different ethnic backgrounds, all different shapes and sizes. Next question.
No, that was it.
Okay.
Oh, so no more.
Okay, so just
Now what are you gonna do with that information?
Why are you guys offended when I said that's it? I don't understand.
Most people on Earth believe in God. It's a stupid fucking question, dude. 80% of the people on this Earth believe in God.
But that question makes you offended. How?
Because we're the topic, dude. And you're deflecting from the actual topic. That's why I'm offended. The actual topic is a question about the natural world, not the people in this chat. Are you dumb, dude?
Yes.
Okay,
Do you know there's a difference between talking about people and talking about things? We're trying to talk about things. That thing would be the Earth, not the people on the Earth itself.
Will you be offended if I asked you how your day was?
Dude, then why are you talking about me again?
No, it's a
Can
question.
you answer?
I'm not saying you.
Can you answer? Can
I
you
know it's
answer
a
this?
fucking question.
Can you answer this question? Please answer this
Why are you
question.
so angry?
Other people
Because you're fucking dense and not listening. I told you, what is it, 6 times? We are not the topic. And you say, I'm sorry I offended you, which that statement makes me the topic. When you say offended you, then you're talking about me. Me is not the topic. Why don't you just go, hey, dude, what's your proof the earth is flat? Hey, dude, why do you think the earth is flat? Hey, dude, I know the earth is a ball because I seen it on TV. Dude, that's the topic.
All right. If anyone else have a question, they can ask. I think I'm done for now.
Yeah, I'm going to
How
ask
do you know
you the question
I got a
right
question
now.
for you. How do you know that the earth is a globe?
Yeah,
I'm not the topic.
No,
okay.
No, we want your knowledge. What the shit that's in your brain? How do you know the evidence that you relied on to determine that the earth is a globe?
Why does it matter what I believe? Like I asked you, why does it matter what you believe?
No, I want to know what the evidence is.
Oh, the evidence? I mean, you can do your own research. I'm not the research.
So in other words, you're just a believer. You have no knowledge.
We did our own research.
That doesn't follow. That doesn't follow. Logically.
We did our own research. The earth is flat.
Here's why.
I mean, that's good for you then.
Hey, Orange. The name of the room is 24/7 Flat Earth. Okay, so that's the topic. And so whenever he asks you, well, how do you know that the Earth is a globe? The Earth, being the topic, is being addressed, not you.
Yeah, but how does it matter what I believe? I don't get
Because
it.
the room topic is the Earth.
Fucking troll.
If you don't want to participate, then leave.
We didn't join your VC. You joined ours.
Oh, that's why. Okay, look, I'm gonna stay quiet now. You guys can speak. What about let's do it like that.
Let me ask you. Well, okay, so I'm trying to get to the topic. So let me ask you this: what type of evidence would need to be shown to you to know the Earth is flat? What would need to be shown? Would it need to be pictures of a flat Earth from outer space? Would it need to be measurements of the surface of the Earth? Would it need to be written in a book? Like, what would it have to be for you to believe the Earth is flat?
Well, let's see. What's one claim an average glober can make that he can't possibly validate, even in principle? Because he doesn't have access to the conditions. So let's see, that's a good one. Let's see, what's a good one? All right, how about what happened before the Big Bang. How about that? Would you agree that if a Glober said he knows what happened before the Big Bang, that he would have no way to know that? Like there's no information he could possibly have. I mean, unless he had a time machine. Right? But pardoning a time machine, he would have no way to know that, right? Beyond the scope of visibility. I think that's a pretty obvious one. So on a flat Earth side, what might be something a flat Earther would say that an astute glober should rightly persecute them for the same reason? Let's see. How about this one? It's impossible to travel to the moon. If a flat Earther says it's impossible to travel to the moon, so I know no one went to the moon to take a photo of the Earth because it's impossible to travel to the moon. Would a flat Earther be justified in saying that? Oh man, it's cop patrol. All right, no one's gonna play along? Come on.
I'm unable to speak and respond. But I would love to hear the conclusion.
Well, there has been flat earthers that have said dogmatically that it's impossible, universally impossible, as in unequivocally not possible. In no circumstances is it ever possible to travel to the moon. And then they give their conditions for why they make that claim, which is, well, you can't have gas pressure without a container, therefore it's impossible to travel to the moon. Well, how does that conclusion follow from those premises? Gas pressure requires a container, therefore you cannot travel to the moon. How does that make sense?
It doesn't.
No, I mean, if the moon is within the container and it is a real thing, then I guess, yeah.
Right, so see how easy that was defeated? So an astute glober should shred that flat earther for public consumption and make fun of them and dance on their corpse.
Yes.
Make them look stupid and run away with their tail between their legs. Why? Because the flat earther was so emboldened by rhetoric that they didn't stop to think about the logical end result of their point or all the particulars to reach their point, and they got exploited by the glober because they thought rhetoric was going to rule the day, because they saw rhetoric succeed in the past and they thought they were just going to ride on the coattails of that success to win a point or an argument rather than actually think clearly for themselves. And if you're just copying some other flat earther to win an argument with a glober, then you're just as stupid as when you were a glober. Correct? That's my opinion.
That is correct. And more people should call it out within our own ranks. I'm more than happy to take critique for one of my arguments if it's dumb, right? So we had some guy in here this morning, probably, I don't know. I don't think he was new to flat Earth, but he still made claims. 500 years ago, so and so, this and this happened. And I'm thinking, dude, how do you even know that? We barely know what's happened in our lifetime, right? And maybe one generation down. And do we actually know? I mean, we believe, right? So, but he was making claims and the Glober was dismantling it a little bit there. So, I don't know. It feels bad to call you on to out, but you have to.
Yeah, it's your responsibility to do so. And it's their responsibility to take it well and not get butthurt about it. Because if you're unwilling to be critiqued, then create an environment where no one's allowed to critique each other. So in other words, it's a stroke-off chamber. where everyone just agrees with everyone, no matter how stupid what comes out of their mouth, then how did the flat earthers evolve beyond being the same thing they were before, which is a bunch of sycophant yes men for the elite, whoever they may be. They may be the elite in scientia, the elite in academia, or the elite members of some server in the corner of the internet, right? They're just the same exact as they were when they were flat earth. Sorry, they're the exact same as they were when they were globers, aren't they?
I think as long as the flat earther clarifies that the moon is outside the Earth's atmo on the globe paradigm.
Oh, well, that's fair, but
they
that's fair.
They came out with
that's fair
thing a few years ago where they said that it's within it now. So the globe lore actually did update there.
It depends on what you're willing to argue within. So many people will argue within the established mainstream paradigm, which, by the way, isn't concretized, where it's one single monolith. There is wiggle room within it. But that being said, it depends on what point you're actually arguing with the person, right? So if you say this is what these people say, and we're going to argue against that, or this is the mainstream that everyone agrees with, we're going to argue against that. But if they're arguing a particular point, and you pigeonhole them into arguing a different point, and you would defeat that point, but they say, but that still doesn't remove the logical possibility that the Earth is still a ball. You say, well, too bad. Well, how is that a genuine argument? Now, it's fair to destroy their paradigm, like the mainstream paradigm, and say that this paradigm can't be true. But if they actually counter you and say, well, maybe it's the case that they did lie about the overall paradigm, but the Earth is still a globe for these other reasons, and you just dismiss those out of hand and be like, no, you're only allowed to argue against me in my pigeonholed pre-canned arguments. You can't outsmart me. That's not fair. How is that a fair conversation?
I can't argue with you, mate, at all.
And this is not so much a critique against the Globers, going into a million different tracks of trying to salvage the idea that the Earth is a globe. Because once you destroy the globe, they still have a globe. You got to realize that. They can bring a globe to the table, even though the globe is already destroyed. The globe is a particular thing. A globe is just generally a globe. That there's plenty of arguments left for them to argue. And you could say, well, I could take each one down, sure. But at the same time, don't be guilty of making your own universal, unfounded, unvalidatable claims. Like, you know what the cosmos are. You know what the fundamental unit of matter, time, and energy is. You know how karma is actually the ether of vibrating with your energy of your soul, and all these other nonsense that you can't possibly prove.
I usually deal with that by not letting them bring their own globe. I can only argue about against the mainstream claim. So.
Well, keep in mind, once they start going down that track, they concede that the observations can only be congruent with a gargantuan globe. Like 18 times the size of the globe. Right. Well, then they've already conceded that the globe is defeated.
Yep.
And then they're only left with reasons why it's a bigger globe that aren't as acutely prepared as the ones for a particular size globe. And when you inflate the size of the globe, the reasons to believe it is a globe start vanishing very quickly. And you start to ask them, well, what good reason do you have left that it's a globe? Because if it's much larger, then all the idea about the cosmos changes, so that you could take that idea and throw it in the waste bin. The idea about the horizon being certain geometry changes, you could take that idea. So what's left? Why would you still think it's a globe? What good reason would you have?
I don't like when they bring their own ball because it leads to us having to educate them about the cosmic distance ladder and things like that. And everything stops working at that point if you change the radius. It's just a big waste of time because I hate having to educate them before I can argue with them.
Maybe, but maybe it's necessary sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't like it. I can do it, but I don't want that.
Yeah, it's like somebody coming in here claiming to be a chess master, but we're having to teach them the rules and how to play and move the pieces before we can actually play the damn game.
Right.
Well, many of those people arrived at their conclusions because they were told the conclusions, and they just agreed with them. But if they follow the course of how the conclusions were arrived at, they can see the problems. Sometimes that creates going down a track of differential thinking or arguments, right? That have nothing to do with their particular point, but it shows them how their point is arrived at wrongly by showing a counterexample where it fails.
No, Ollie, this is not the Flat Earth Society.
Yeah.
So the moral of that story was, don't accept the burden of proof for unfounded, unvalidable claims that there's no possible way you could ever verify in your lifetime or the next, to then have the argument be lost between you and somebody else because you're the one who decided to make the bold claims about the nature of reality that you really have no purpose in making. For example, there's another one which is let's see, another one. So, well, you will be asked about the boundary condition, right? If the Earth is flat, what's the boundary condition? It's where the Earth ends. Is there an edge? Does it go on forever? Does it go on for 1 trillion miles? Well, nobody really knows, and I don't know is a sufficient answer. But there are some people who say, well, it's just flat, and it just keeps going on flat. Just keeps going on flat, more flat, more flat. Well, how could you possibly know that? Think about it. How could you possibly know that 10,000 miles after the furthest distance of the perimeter that we're aware of, the Earth just doesn't dive off rapidly? Like, how could you know that? The answer is you couldn't. The answer is you'd be speculating at best. Or you might say, well, if I take an angle to a star, and that means that the baseline is horizontal, then that means that the baseline continues horizontal indefinitely. And that means that the surface of the Earth is then going to be parallel with that, roughly. Obviously, it's not going to be perfect. Roughly for an indefinite amount of distance.
Who is saying these?
Well, if you mean indefinite to mean that you don't know the definition of it, then sure, I could agree with that, because that could mean undefined, as in it could go for 30,000 miles, it could go for 50, it could go for 70. But if you mean it to mean that it just goes on and on and on and on and on till the Earth either stops or whatever, like, you couldn't know that either from that information. Like, again, for all you know, once you go 30,000 miles past the exterior perimeter where you can get the last ground sighting of a star, for all you know, after you go past that distance and you look up, there are no stars. And guess what? There's no way you could possibly know the condition one way or the other. There's no possible way unless you've been there, which none of us have.
Who's making these silly claims, dude?
Man, be surprised.
You don't know my favorite silly claim that's ever been made by a flat earther. This is when I went on my 2-week excursion to the TikTok flat earth. One of the guys actually told me that Jupiter was a black hole. I was like, bro, how the hell did you figure that out? Of course, he didn't have a good answer for me. He just said we just know it just because of the way it looks. I was like, bro.
Is that the one with the giant storm? Supposedly?
Oh, I have no idea. Bro, they make so many crazy claims on there, dude. Not all of them are like that over there, of course. Just a few. They do have some good ones, though. But they also have some really bad ones, too, so.
Here's my biggest pet peeve one. There's no outer space. Oh, sorry. There's no outer space vacuum because gas pressure requires a container. No. Can anybody tell me the logical problem with that?
I'll let somebody else try.
Well, you know the answer already?
Yeah, you've spoken about it enough.
Okay, so the premise on the table is there can't be any outer space vacuum because gas pressure requires a container. That's the statement. There's a severe logical problem with that.
Yeah, I've heard that the universe is the container.
Maybe that's the way some people talk about it. When you think about the problem, once you hear the solution, if you haven't heard it before, it's going to be deadly obvious.
You can just have it outside the container.
Exactly. As a matter of fact, Lats, in order to require a container to contain the gas pressure, you need an area that the containment is preventing the gas pressure from filling. So to have a container begs the question of an inside and an outside. So by having a container, you automatically have an outside.
Again, I can't argue with you, dude. You are spot on.
I mean, unless you're going to argue that, well, okay, there's gas pressure within the container and gas pressure without the container, and the container's just there for shits and giggles. So no, it's not the case that gas pressure requires a container, therefore outer space can't be an infinite cosmic void. Because it can. You can have gas pressure within a localized area contained, and then the outside be a vacuum. That satisfies all the conditions. That satisfies the conditions. You must have a container to withhold the gas pressure from filling the available vacuous space, and you still have a vacuous space that's not being filled. Oh wow, that was easy. I'm surprised Globers haven't smacked flat earthers or senseless with it over the years.
I would just say, as long as you preface by saying that nobody's actually going out there because we are physically contained, because that's the only independent variable that has been verified so far. They're the scientific method to be able to pressurize gas. You should be okay.
That doesn't, okay, let's say that's true. So if you have a pressurized container and you put something into it, and then you want to get it out again, how would you get it out?
You probably have to open the container.
Okay, you'd have to have an opening in the container, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, now how many? So a submarine is a container, right? So when a submarine shoots a torpedo, does the entire submarine fill with water?
No.
All the guys inside drown? Is that how it works?
No. No.
So how does it work? They isolate the tube, then they launch the torpedo, and none of the outside water comes into the vessel. So something leaves the vessel without the overall ambient atmosphere within the container being muchly affected. Wow, it's called a door. Or an airlock. Or a portal.
See,
So it's not the case that just because you have, fair enough, but it's not the case that just because you have contained environment means that you could never leave the environment.
They wouldn't have any issue with that if they were claiming that they were opening something like a window or a door to the container to leave.
Okay, here's
That's not
a
what they
simple
depict,
solution.
though.
They're lying. Okay, so their depictions is false, but they're just lying about it. There you go. Problem solved.
Yeah, so I mean, at the end of the day, they'd still be lying.
They didn't want us to know they found the windows in heaven. Okay.
All right, so now that I've defeated all of the flat earthers' claims about making it to the moon, very easily, I might add, with no sweat at all. But not a single flat earther that exists could have challenged any of those points. No matter how hard they screamed and yelled and called me names, or tried to mute me or did anything, they would have been destroyed, utterly eviscerated on the floor with their guts spilling out for public consumption. Now, how would they possibly thwart this when I say, okay, then after we did all of those things, I was on the moon and I turned around and I took a picture of the Earth as a globe. Ha ha, I win. Did I win?
No. Because your picture shows a curved surface. Therefore, I should be able to observe and measure that curved surface that's depicted in your picture. Are we just going to stay, and we probably should, just on the surface of the Earth?
Oh, sure, because the quality of an object being contained or being in an environment that is contained doesn't actually change the shape of the object itself, right? The object is what it is, regardless of the exterior container that it's within.
100%. Yeah.
So if you have, if gas pressure requires a container, well, you can have a globe within a container. You can have a cube within a container. You can have a pyramid within a container. You can have a infinite number of shapes within a container.
You can be in a container.
Yeah, exactly. So the container itself, or the not container itself, is like, it's ultimately irrelevant to the circumstances of whether the Earth is flat or a globe. Now, it's relevant to certain claims within an overall heliocentric paradigm or model, but other than that, it doesn't actually inform what the shape of the Earth is.
No.
Now, part of the reason why someone arguing with you, and I don't think they do this on purpose, why they would never bring that line of argument to fruition by destroying all of your gas pressure requires a container arguments to have anything to do with the Earth whatsoever, is because once you remove them off the table by making them moot, then you only have left the actual form of the Earth itself to deal with.
Yep.
So I could care less about gravity. If Glober comes in and says, "Oh, gravity holds the water to the Earth," I'll say, "Yeah, you're right. Gravity pulls everything down, holds it to the Earth, and the water that it's holding down is flat. Therefore, gravity proves the Earth is flat." Next question. Or I could talk to them for 17 hours about gas pressure requiring a container, and then we never actually get to the crux of the issue.
That's very true.
But it's neither here nor there. As long as you know that you're being rung around by the nose and you're actually leading the convo somewhere, it's fine to go on different tracks. There's not one script to rule them all. You know what I mean? You gotta meet somebody where they're at and take them down a journey to where you and them are in trust together, to where you reveal the truth with them and they realize it. Depending on the nature of your opponent, of course. Some people don't care. Some people you're only using as a foil, as an example for the audience. Some people you actually do care about and they're sincere. So you got to temper how you deal with each conversation separately. But one thing's for sure, no flat earther should ever say the Earth is flat because gas pressure requires a container, which did recently happen on a debate that was publicized to thousands upon thousands of people.
Fuck off. Really? Who said that? Sorry, I'm mumbling in the background. You probably can't hear me. Who the fuck said that?
It wasn't anybody special. It was kind of like whatever debate they were having, they had an open call-in. So what they were doing is they were trying to call out weaker flat earthers to essentially look. What they wanted to do was get in a position where they were going to have flat earthers that were going to be stupid. So they certainly didn't come to any venues that we proffer, right? And they're trying to, these are the flat earthers that you have to deal with. And so they had these people come up and they tried to make their claims. And, they're like, I heard some really exuberant, charismatic flat earther who shuts down Globers all the time say the Earth has to be flat because gas pressure requires a container. And so I'm going to go in and I'm going to teach these atheitards, because I'm just going to parrot this thing I heard, gas pressure requires a container, therefore the Earth is flat. It might have been another one of those shows that Blitz did. Might have been.
Sorry, I missed that name.
Dr. Blitz.
Oh, Dr. Blitz. Okay, I thought you said Whitsit. Just wanted to be sure. I don't even know who Dr. Blitz is.
Dr. Blitz is the ponytail, the nerdy-looking dude that quote-unquote debated Indio, which was supposed to be just a general conversation.
That guy. Is he the hands guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I got you. I know who he is. Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, it's like, listen, Mr. Indio, before we discuss about if the Earth could actually be flat around, what we need to really know is, how do you know you have hands?
Yeah, that's what we need to know.
If I don't know how you know that you have hands, then how could I possibly know that the Earth is flat around?
Wow.
A supposed, I know he's a doctor in physics, but I don't know if he's a professor in physics. But then again, I mean, you could get a professorship, or sorry, a doctorate in physics by, trade in favors for your homework getting done, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with a ponytail like that. Oh, did I go too far?
No. But yeah, some flat earthers do say some stupid shit. And I 100% agree with you about the repeating the rhetoric without understanding what you're saying. I've been around in flat earth long enough. I've done that for sure. Hold my hands up to that shit. I think I've changed a little bit, though, especially with regards to the gas pressure thing. Yeah, we talk about it. Yeah, I can explain it really well, blah, blah, blah. But I try not to go there now. If we start talking about space, like we were just saying earlier, and you've got a picture that shows Earth curve, I want to be able to observe and measure it. I'm trying to do that more often now. Because sometimes the rhetoric and the people that carry the rhetoric are quite bulldog in their nature. You get pulled along. But I hold my hands up to that shit. You're not wrong, and I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, it's like, why can't the answer be as simple as, let's do a mirror flip. So the Glober says, oh, what about gravity? And you'd be like, well, what about gravity? Well, gravity pulls everything into a globe. And you just be like, oh, no. Gravity pulls everything down flat for the flat Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because all we observe is the phenomenon of things moving to the Earth, down. That's what they observe. They imagine that it's going inward to a giant ball. We just see it going down to the Earth. So we actually have a step up from the phenomenon directly equating to the orientation of the surface of the Earth, where they have to take an extra imaginary step, right? So we actually have the greater, I don't know if you'd call it a claim or not, but we just have the greater conclusion.
Sorry, I got caught in something that you said there. All we observe is things falling down to the Earth. I'm agreeing with it 100%. Is that a bit of a presupposition, though? Because I'll dig a hole and it'll fall to the bottom of the hole. I'll just remove the Earth. Every time I remove the Earth, it just keeps going downwards. I appreciate that every time I dig down, there's always going to be Earth underneath it. But every time I remove the Earth, the thing keeps going downwards anyway. So is it, I'm not saying it is or it isn't, is it a presupposition to say it's actually falling to the Earth? Or to say that the Earth is the thing that's pulling it towards it?
Well, I mean, you could imagine you dig forever, and then you get to a point where there's no more Earth. Then there's an empty space, and then there's this giant floating spaghetti monster. And so it's actually falling to the giant floating spaghetti monster.
Yeah, but if we've got no idea about what happens beneath, then the possibility of speculation arises. As you dig through the Earth, you'll eventually come out the bottom, and the thing that you dropped is just going to keep going.
Right, but that notice what I said. I said that's all we observe.
Yes, yeah, you did, and you are right. You are correct. That is all we observe.
Now, some flat earthers would argue me, oh no, what if I let a balloon go? It'll go up. I go, things don't fall up.
No, they rise.
All things fall. Listen, I'll make this clear for all the stupid flat earthers out there. All things fall down. Anything that's falling is falling down. If it's going down, it's falling. If it's falling, it's going down. Frickin' duh. If it's going up, it's not falling, in case you didn't know that.
I don't know, I fell up the stairs a few times.
So yes, all things fall down. There you go. I don't know how hard that was to get to, but it took us 10 years.
Oh, okay. All things?
Yes, all things.
All things fall down.
Correct.
Including
the condition
gas.
of falling when applied to anything is down. So anything that falls is going down. So all falling things are going down. All things fall down.
Okay.
Nothing that falls
Okay.
doesn't fall down.
Okay.
No falling up.
So
No,
there's no such thing as falling up. That's like language when you're talking about emotions with women, not about reality.
Yeah, I was gonna say make a joke, but it's kind of crude about that's fucking up.
That's funny.
Well, I mean, never, Crit, listen, we're trying to talk about flat Earth, not about hypergamy. Sorry.
Well, with the globalist worldview, for them, they have a lot of downs. So anytime something falls, it's always a down. There's lots of downs.
I don't know. I wouldn't concede that they have downs because they really don't. They have inwards, which is contrary to the observation. So the observation is down. They call it inwards, and they need extraneous proof to prove it's inwards when the common observation is down.
Down to the.
So even like our language has been charged with this assumption that when you witness something fall to the earth, you're witnessing it going inwards to a giant ball. Almost like you have to go outside of your mind, press zoom out 1,000 times till you're on the side of the earth and you can actually witness it going sideways towards a giant ball. But actually what you really saw was it just fell down to the ground. Like a majority of the globe takes place in the mind space, right? In like a video game where you can press not the B button, let's say the R bumper, and it changes your camera view, to behind, to first person, third person, then outside of space, looking at the side of a giant ball. And you could just flip through that in your mind real quick. And so when somebody drops a can, you say, "Oh, look what happened!" And then you go, "Oh, let me change my viewpoint real quick." Click, click, click. Oh yeah, you're right. It did go sideways to a giant ball. Some Globers, we know sideways. That many Globers. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, things go sideways.
Yeah, and a lot of Globers when they come in here, they talk as if that's what they're actually seeing. Like they're talking about dropping a can out of their hand and it hitting the ground, but they're talking about it as if they're in a viewpoint from somewhere, 10,000 miles away from the Earth, watching it going sideways. It's like, dude, that is not what you're witnessing, you dummy. That's what you're imagining in your brain. And to be fair, because I like to be fair. By the same token, a flat earther imagining themselves standing 75,000 miles past the Antarctic perimeter on more flat land, and then making the claim that there's flat land there, and if we could just travel past that perimeter, we would reach it. Well, they don't know that either. They're just seeing that in their mental space. They have no definitive evidence that that's the case. And it could be speculation, it could be a reasoned position, but it's still an unvalidated position. And they shouldn't be saying this is the case, this is a fact, this is the way it is, because they are just as guilty as the previous person making claims about something that only exists in their mental space that they can't possibly validate.
That's the problem there. They're trying to say it has to be invalidated. It's already been validated, which it hasn't. So it's like debunk this thing that hasn't been proven. Sounds like a fool's errand. Why would someone do that? Yeah, it's called Russell's teapot. Or that black dragon that hides in my basement. Well, why can't I see it? Well, it's invisible and it's shy.
The Jabberwocky too. It's always behind you.
It's like, please invalidate this globe heliocentric religion I have that only exists in my mind that hasn't been validated in the first place. Yeah, how about no? Why would I take on such a fool's errand? Just explain to me, why do you need that? Why have you entangled that into your worldview? Where did it come from? Who told you that? And why do you believe them?
That's another classic with the atheists where they say debunk atheism. I'm like, how could I debunk your lack of belief in a god? That makes zero sense, you retard. Yeah, but these guys think they're the intelligentsia of the world. They think they're intelligentsia of the human race from antiquity till modernity. They think they're the pinnacle of evolution, the cream of the crop, the near transcendent deities that are about to step out of the mortar coil and go into a machine and then become disembodied ethereal programs that will float in the cosmic void for eternity. And if you think I'm joking, I'm not, dude. This is what retard physicists have literally said out of their own mouths on TED stages and international physics conferences. That one day mankind will transcend the body, download their consciousness into machines, eventually transcend the machines, and then just be disembodied floating consciousness, aka spirits of some kind, and then live eternal life in bliss. What a bunch of retards.
Yeah, like the Vorlon on Babylon 5. They were once human too.
Yeah, AI, I thought you were halfway there already. Aren't you half robot?
Well, see, I don't believe in the world starting off as a cold, dead nothing, and then spontaneously deciding to do something that leads to rocks exploding out of a giant fart, that then leads to wet slime on the ground, deciding if it wants to play piano or go to summer camp, and then eventually become a god. I think that's retarded because you end
You're
up
one of those
with
advanced robots.
you end up with a disembodied eternal consciousness that doesn't need the material universe to sustain itself. But you can't get there from a dead universe. You have to start with the consciousness, which by the way, a lot of evolutionists, physicists, et cetera, are starting to realize that that's the truth. That eternal sentience is the fundamental unit of reality, not matter, energy, or time. So I just skip all that out and I just agree with reality that basically, for lack of a better term, God is real. He's the source of everything. He created everything. And he's going to be the source of any eternal life for any humanity, not technology. These guys, Lats, they think that the contingent can somehow emerge through evolution to be non-contingent. That's literally retarded. It's literally like cause and effect reversed. Literally like entropy reversed. It's literally like time reversed. It's literally backwards.
Yeah, but you can't tell him that though. You're gonna get canceled, bro.
To be fair, Lats, I take solace in the fact that that type of thinking is like statistically, in the whole advent of humanity, from all recorded history till now, they're like statistically insignificant. Like history could go on, and if you take the aggregate of humanity and their beliefs, structures, and philosophies, and just take that period of time with like all this atheistic, nihilistic type nonsense, or whatever that is, it's like it's so irrelevant. It's irrelevant. There you go. It's so negligible, like you can almost act as if it never existed. Kind of like accounting for Earth curve in giant bridges.
What are they saying? Are they saying that everything in the universe knows how to just come together and do what it's supposed to all by itself?
Yeah, come together right now over me.
Their God is basically a mathematical equation that created itself.
The Fibonacci sequence.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, a lot of the previous dudes that I mentioned, who were the evolutionary physicists, biologists, et cetera, that are realizing that you can't have the material, physical, energy, temporal world without sentience existing in the first order. They won't attribute that sentience to an eternal agent that has will and authority. They attribute it to some kind of like ambiguous divine unity where like all things are part of the same thing. So kind of like a monistic God where all entities are part of God. So the aggregate of humanity is God, including the rocks, including the trees, including the squirrels, and including all the Cthulhu demons that exist in the outreaches.
Even if that were the case, it would still be by intelligent design.
Yeah, well, they're not against that. They ultimately come to that conclusion that must be the case, that the intelligent agency of the sentient entity, which is eternal, is manifesting this reality, and it's experiencing it. They don't disagree with that. They just disagree with that it's a personal, singular agent of account that the subordinates are accountable to. So they have like this aggregate, diplomatic kind of ooey gooey mass of everything's voting on what's right and wrong, and the whole organism is deciding and evolving together, and there's no like real standard. So they're willing to believe in God as long as it's not a singular agent that they're accountable to. They'll create any type of God that isn't that.
Not that.
Honestly, I wouldn't even mind that philosophy if the person themselves were accountable. But they're always shaking accountability off onto something else.
Yeah, you see that. They always blame other people for what they do. They can't even take responsibility, like in terms of cause and effect. That they're at least 50% responsible for any situation they find themselves in. But they'll say they have full control over the situation and zero accountability for the outcome. Because this other person over here who had nothing to do with it, they're to blame. And that person couldn't have affected the outcome anyway.
Namaste.
Accountability is kryptonite for many, many people.
You see that with like this is kind of a hot take, but like police officers, they'll pull you over because of something you did. Apparently, it doesn't matter what you say or what you do or what you don't do. They've got full control of the situation, and if anything goes sideways, you're responsible for their state of fear. If they become scared at any time and pull the gun or a taser or a baton, so you're supposed to remain cool, calm, and collected, and make sure they maintain cool, calm, and collected when they're the ones with the training experience and they have full control over the situation. And that's the same government that you're supposed to trust me, bro. I'm exploring space so you don't have to. Oh, for the betterment of humanity.
Right, do you remember the one, I can't remember which atheist it was, but after the Big Bang came out, he was famous for saying, now that this is out, it's now intellectually fulfilling or something to be an atheist because now we have our creation story.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've heard that they argued against it. They were like argued against the Big Bang. That's why it got the name the Big Bang. Like the atheists tried to mock it at the time, and then ended up getting egg on their face.
Right, but that one guy recognized that, well, it validates, a creation story. And now, of course, there was that argument where, this is clearly like an event that's caused by an external agent, but they saw, well, we don't have to appeal to the external agent. We just have to appeal to the fact that it happened. And therefore, we have an instantiation of the universe that doesn't require a specific cause, and so we can neglect any cause. But I said that to say this is that a lot of the people in modernity, they ask themselves, especially to us, why does any of this matter? Like the shape of the earth, the nature of the cosmos, why lie about it? What does it change about people's lives? Well, in the history of this stuff being made, it changed people's lives. It changed people's entire outlook about their position in the universe, whether they were created or not, whether they were beholden to a god or not, whether they were beholden to a religion or not. Who I am, where I am, how did I get here, where am I going, what's my purpose, what's my moral duties. All of these questions are informed by the nature of your reality. It's like it just blows my mind how none of these people can comprehend how this stuff is some of the most profound stuff there is. Like who won the Super Bowl? That's an inconsequential thing to the nature of your existence. But whether you live on a giant ball flying through an infinite void or whether you live on a local flat earth that's contained, I mean, those are paradigm shifting consequences.
Can I please speak or not yet?
Go ahead.
Okay. How to open my camera, first of all?
No, you don't need your camera. We don't do that here.
I cannot open my camera.
We don't do that here.
But I want to twerk.
Nobody wants to see you.
Because you're gay.
Oh, no, duh. Now we know why. Now you know why we don't let people open their camera. Problem solved.
Yeah, I can get banned if you. I mean, you can get banned immediately. I can control what I'm.
Agathan, let me help you out. Agathan, let me help you out. Why don't you twerk as in to do work on proving that globe curvature? So why don't you twerk on the globe's proof? Go ahead.
Because I want to twerk here, bro. I want the flat earthers to understand that there's something round in this world.
No. You're out of your mind.
Nobody wants to see you shake your shoulder.
So when's the last time you saw your
Captain,
father?
so you've been in here before. Well, that's okay, but listen, she's been in here before. She realized that the flat earthers are serious and not a joke. And so in order to cope with that fact, she has to treat it like a joke by reducing her presence here to mere infantile gesticulations and outbursts. That way she can go to sleep at night thinking, well, the flat earthers are silly because I act silly around them, rather than recognize the fact that we clearly have a point and that you could actually go investigate the point and find out that the earth being a globe isn't true and that it's actually flat. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeshua. Fatherless behavior.
All right, I'll send her the bill. Yeah, I'll send her the bill for the therapy session.
Yep.
Hello.
What up?
If you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Was that a bot?
No.
What was it?
Me.
Bro, what? You sound like AI.
It doesn't matter what it sounds like. That was me delivering a message.
I mean, really, your sound is.
Do you have any questions about Earth?
monotonous.
Do you have questions about Earth?
So I do have questions. Like, how do people like believe that the Earth is flat? Or maybe it's not about that. Maybe we still don't really have enough proof that the Earth
No,
is
it has nothing to do. It has nothing to do with belief. It actually has everything to do with proof. There is no proof of curvature, nor is there proof that Earth is in motion.
I see. So, with this context, I'm assuming that at this point, like the entire structure of solar system literally collapses with this theory. It shouldn't exist in the way textbooks explain.
Does that make you sad?
No, if I assume that the Earth is really flat, then it literally changes everything. Everything I've read so far and
Yeah, we know that. Does it make you sad that it changes everything?
Is that all a scam? No, I'm not sad.
No.
I'm just, thinking.
Well, do you think a solar system has ever been actually observed?
Yeah, I think it does by
Well,
satellites.
where did they observe it from? Where were they
Satellites?
when they
I don't
when
know.
someone observed the solar system? Where were they?
The only thing I think
Yeah,
we
that's
did
right.
was analyzing
Yeah, I
data
never.
that was gotten through satellites.
So there's a satellite that observed the solar system. Where was it? How far away was it? Yeah, you've never really thought about it before. That's okay. Okay, most people haven't. They just take it for
Yeah,
granted.
exactly.
But yeah,
I just read
we understand that. Well, what we do here, we don't try to convince you the Earth is flat. We're just going to give you information about the globe Earth, which we understand perfectly well. We're not flat earthers because we don't understand the globe. We are flat earthers because we do. We do understand it very well. And we're going to give you information which, that you might have never heard before, because they don't tell you in school about all the globe things that do not work. There's a lot of parts of it that don't work. I'll give you an example. Those satellites that you claim, you think they're in outer space in a vacuum.
Yeah.
Right? Orbiting the Earth. Well, how can there be a giant, nearly infinite vacuum of outer space, and we are standing on Earth, breathing air, which has a pressure, and there's no barrier keeping the pressure of the air in? Now, what you'll probably think is, well, gravity holds the air down, so we don't need a barrier. That's fine. That's a great story, but this has never been experimentally demonstrated to even be possible. Gas pressure itself is defined by the force exerted on the walls of a container. So how do you have gas pressure without a container? Okay, so there's the second law of thermodynamics, which is known violations. Can't even violate it in time. So how do you have an open thermodynamic system next to a vacuum, right? And all the air does not go off into the vacuum? Gravity. But that's not a good answer, because there's no experiment. There's no evidence that gravity can do anything. And if you go to a physics class, such as the kinetic theory of gases, and you look at the formulas, there's no gravity in any of those formulas to tell you what the gas does. So if they can ignore gravity for all their theoretical calculations about what gas does, if they can ignore it, then it's not having an effect on the gas. And if it did have an effect on the gas, there'd be a whole bunch of other consequences, right? That means gravity would do thermodynamic work, and liquids become solids, and gases would become liquids, and with enough gravity, right? And it would be ridiculous. It doesn't happen. No one's ever observed that. So on one hand, I have the second law of thermodynamics. On the other hand, I have a TV show and human beings telling me they have satellites orbiting a ball in a place that's a near vacuum. So what do I believe? The stories told by men or the laws of nature? I thought science, we figure out the laws of nature so we don't have to listen to fucking men say they can do shit that they can't do because the laws of nature prove them wrong.
Bro, I have a very interesting argument. If the Earth is really flat, then why do we have different time zones?
Hold on. Okay, I'll answer that. Have you ever asked if the Earth was a globe? Blah, blah, blah. Have you ever asked yourself that question? If the Earth was a globe, why does this happen? Have you ever asked yourself that?
I mean, it
No,
makes
of course
sense.
you haven't. It makes sense. That doesn't look. Flat Earth makes sense. You know why flat Earth makes sense? I'll tell you how much sense it makes. Okay, people posted in the side chat all about time zones. So, time zones are political. They're man-made. There is no fucking time zones. If you're asking why the entire surface of the Earth is not lit up at the same time, it's because the air is not transparent, right? Light comes to you. It has to go through air, and that air absorbs light, and it gets dark in some places. And where the sun is directly over, it's light. Okay, it's fairly simple. Just like if you're in the ocean, right? If I'm in the bottom, if I'm deep underwater in 400 meters, I can't see the sun. Why? Because the air or the water absorbed all the light, right? So, but we're in the case of air, we're talking about thousands of miles, not hundreds of meters. So anyway, the flat Earth makes sense. Okay, let me tell you how it makes sense. We go to the ocean, we go to a lake, we go to a sea. In the water, which is most of the surface of the Earth, it looks flat. Let me tell you how much flat Earth makes. It looks flat because it is flat. Does that make sense? The globe idea is it looks flat because it's a ball that's so big you can't see that it's a ball. And it looks flat. Now, what makes more sense? A giant invisible ball, or the Earth is flat because Earth looks flat because it is flat?
Bro, the Earth is a huge ball. Like
How do you know
64
that?
kilometers radius.
But the question is, how do you know that that's why the Earth looks flat? Because it's a huge ball, and not because it just is flat.
You said that the ocean seems flat when we try to look at it, but there's a reason because the Earth is so huge.
How do you know
The
that's
radius
why it
is
looks flat? I'm going to ask you again. How do you know that is why it looks flat, and that it just doesn't look flat because it is flat? How do you know the reason is the one you said? It's a giant ball, too big to see that it's curved.
Exactly.
And not the reason I said. The reason I said was it looks flat because it is flat. The reason you said it looks flat because it's a giant ball. What makes more sense, yours or mine? Mine makes more sense because it's just obvious, right? Looks flat because that's what it is. Because flat things look flat. Balls don't look flat. Now you can imagine a ball so large that from your perspective it looks flat, but you would actually need evidence for that. Right? So where's the evidence that the Earth is a giant ball that happens to look flat? This is where it gets real, right? What is the evidence for that? That's what we asked. We said, hey, dude, they tell us the Earth's a ball. What is the evidence for that? And we looked for it. We found out there is no evidence for that. They show you some they show you some TV shows, and they trot people out and they go, hey, it's a giant ball, I promise. And that's it, dude. It's just a bunch of people talking. This is a question we ask you guys. We go, how do you know the Earth is a globe? You, not somebody else, not NASA, not JAXA, not Russia.
Bro,
how you personally know it's a globe.
Bro, you just said that how do you prove it that the Earth is so giant? Okay, I mean, you can literally measure the Earth.
No, how do you prove it's a giant ball? No, I didn't say how it's so giant. I said, how do you prove it's a giant ball?
Before saying that, how do you prove it that it's a giant? You can literally just measure the Earth yourself.
Oh, we've tried. We've tried to measure the Earth's curve ourselves, and we can't find it.
All right.
Yeah, so you take a laser, right? You start at, say, you start at 2 meters above water. You shine the laser 40 kilometers. At the 40 kilometers away, that laser should be 127 meters high because of the curve of the Earth curves down, right? So the laser at the other end should be 127 meters in the air. Except for when this test was done, it was only 1.5 meters in the air. So instead of being 127 meters, it's 1.5. 1.5.
So you're saying there was some error? Or was it?
Yeah, if the error, a 2 order of magnitude error, no, there's no error, dude. The Earth's not a ball. Let's say it's a 10% error. Let's say it's 10% error. Okay, so then it could be anywhere between 12.5 meters and 0, right? You're still missing 112 meters. Maybe you don't understand. You know how long 127 meters, right? How tall of a building is that? Well, I guess I'll tell you. It's a 44-story building. 440 feet, 44 stories, assuming 10 feet per story. Let's just say it's a 40-story building. Now, when they shine the laser, the only way you should be able to see the laser is if you're on top of a 40-story building. On the top. They saw it right at the level of the water. Because the Earth's not curving. Earth's flat. Water's level. They can say whatever they want. But until they produce the evidence, the measurement of Earth curve, it's just a story. See, people, a lot of people that believe in the globe Earth, they come in here and they think we don't have evidence the Earth is wet. We have lots of evidence. We've been doing lots of tests for the last 10 years. Lots of them.
There's one thing I would like to ask. Like, if Earth is really flat, then why does increasing height reveal things that were previously hidden?
Because the angle changes. When you were a little kid, right? When you were a baby, when you could only crawl, your toys were all over the room, right? And then you thought, man, where's that toy I want? My favorite, whatever, stuffed elephant. What would you do to find it? Stand up. Because when you stood up, you could see farther. This is not mysterious, dude. It's not because your room is a ball.
Wait, but
when you go higher, you can see farther because the angle changes.
But then zooming in should bring the hidden part back, right? But that doesn't happen.
No, zooming in should not bring the hidden part back. What hidden part? Yo, listen,
And you go
it's really
to how
simple.
height you see the things that weren't there before.
Does light come to your eye or do you see out? This is the same thing. It's like you didn't listen to the other one or didn't put the dots together. Does light come to your eye or do you see outward? Comes to you, right? So there's something out there like a tree. The light comes from there to your eye, then you see it. Air is not transparent. You can go on a weather app on your phone and look up the visibility. You can only see so far because the air is opaque. It's not clear at long distances. It's only clear like for short distances. Sometimes if the fog is bad enough, you can't see 10 feet. Okay, the reason we can't see forever is because the air absorbs the light. Like I said, you can just go on a weather app, look up the visibility for any place in the world that's measuring that. Like today, here, probably it's probably a 10-mile visibility here today. And I've gone to the ocean and I've recorded this, that it's literally like a wall at 10 miles. So it's like a buoy, right? A buoy was out like 10 miles out at sea and it was bobbing back and forth, right? So the top would come toward me every time a wave hit and then it would go back. And when it would go backwards and went into this like, I don't know what it was, but it would disappear. And then it would bob forward and I'd see it again. And then it would bob back and it would disappear and it would bob forward and I'd see it again. See, this is the thing, man. Yeah, like you guys are like, you go over this. You're lost in ideas. You've never went out and actually observed the world, the natural world, to see if what they say matches up. That's what we're trying to tell you. This is the information I said we're going to give you, is that if you actually go out, get off your computer, get off your screen, go outside, go down to the lake, go down to the shore, and actually test this, you'll find out that what they say the Earth is, it isn't. You just never checked. We did check, and we're here to tell you the results are in. Earth's not a globe.
When we go to height, then we see the bottom part disappearing first. And no matter wherever you go on Earth, this pattern is like everywhere. How do you explain that?
You're really going down the list, aren't you there, buddy?
We see the bottom part of what? What do
I
you
said
say?
bottom part disappearing first.
The bottom part of what?
Boats.
Oh, you mean ships
If
over
you
the
go to
horizon?
the height,
Listen, that's not true, dude.
yeah.
It's
What?
not true. That only happens sometimes. It depends on the weather, like I just told you.
But the pattern is everywhere. Like always, bottom disappears
No,
first.
it does not, dude. Want me to show you video that I took at? Listen, brother, I can show you video I took at the ocean, dude. This doesn't happen all the time.
Show video. I would be.
Oh God.
Really.
Take your pick. How far, dude? I got a boat. I got a ship at 30 miles. That I took with a fucking cell phone. Here, I'll give you the fishing boat.
Here, I have an extra one to add as well. This is tracked on shipping radar. It's 14 miles out. Here's a picture of the boat and the name of the boat and the height of the boat. And then here is the boat seen from the observation. The boat should be completely hidden behind the curvature of the Earth, not visible at all. Here's the video.
You posted the windmills, bro.
Yeah, the boat that's off behind the windmills.
Oh, this is
the
shit.
Shetland trader.
Oh man, you're not even dealing with the windmills anymore. You're like the boat.
Yeah, we've gone past the windmills now. I got the math here as well in metric and somewhere.
You know, this is what we're trying to tell you, brother. Reality doesn't match the claim.
But then, like, why are they feeding us this information that the Earth is not flat?
Because it's an echo chamber of people parroting each other. We have person after person after person walk in here, say ships go over the horizon. I say, have you ever seen this? They go, no. And I go, well, why are you saying that? Well, that's what it says on the internet. That's
So
what
why?
you just did. I don't know. Why did you do that? I'm asking you why you did it. You did what they do. You did the same thing. So someone's going to come in here after you leave and they go, well, why do people say this? And I'm going to say, man, that's weird. Someone just asked that after they told the ships go over the horizon. Look, it's like a myth, right? Like an urban myth. You know what a myth is? M-Y-T-H, myth. Yeah, this is in a myth. This is something, now, occasionally you can go out and you can observe what's called an inferior mirage, and you will see like half the ship's gone. But this isn't something that's observed consistently. Most of the time, when a ship sails away from you, it just becomes like, it's just not bright enough to see. It just becomes opaque. And like in the 1800s, the 1840s, right? In shipping, they have terms for this. It was called fading into the offing. right? That was the term they used to describe when it's out to sea, when the ship starts to kind of like fade away. They didn't say it goes over the horizon. And this is in when they used to sail a lot, right? On old, clippers, the wooden ships with the sails and shit, right? So they spent a lot of time at sea, dude. They knew what they were looking at. They weren't distracted by freaking cell phones. They only had nature to look at. But what do you think about the observation that DJ showed you? Now, by the way, this observation, not that it matters, but it seems to matter to you guys, that it's a PhD in physics that took this. He's a PhD that teaches at the University of Brighton in the UK. And he's a flat earther. But what we're telling you is, if you go to the ocean, I would say 98 times out of 100, you're going to capture something like this. You're going to go there, and if you, like 2 out of the 100 times, you'll see a boat cut off halfway. But if you look closer, in almost every video I've ever seen where something you can't see the bottom of, it's an inferior mirage. Which is, there's like a mirror image of, at the horizon, of the objects. And that the horizon is not the physical edge of a ball, which would be required for the claim to even be true in the first place, which is easily proven not to be true. Yeah, I got the AI to do fucking McToon's challenge. Too lazy to fucking do it myself. I gotta post the PDF. So I told the AI, I took screenshots of the coordinates, or the screenshots that Crick gave me. I posted them to the AI. I said, convert these coordinates to ECEF and then calculate the distance between them and show your work. So it did. It showed the whole calculation, calculate between the distance, and that was simple. It didn't use any gold math to calculate any distance. D equals the square root of x squared minus x1, x2 plus x squared minus x1 squared plus, blah, 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 whatever. And it came up with a distance of 519.56 meters. I don't know if that was the correct value or the value he came up with. There it is. Now, he might object, but his objection's invalid because his receiver actually got the coordinates in the ECEF coordinate system and then converted the Latin long. So I just converted it back to what the GPS actually reads and undid the conversion into spherical coordinates. I don't know if I'm in that ops server.
So how do I want to set the premiere to start in what, like 1 hour, 30 minutes from now or something. So I'm so spaz when it comes to time zones. So I hit time zones and it's just got the like the GMT. So you reckon Aethergrass if I click New York?
Yeah. New York and North Carolina are on the same time zone, so it's the same time there as it is here. That'd probably be the best bet, is just to click that one. Plus, it's right in time for people's lunch break. Some folks take lunch a little bit early, about 11. So.
All right. New York, and then it's asking me to put in a time now. What, I just put in 11 a.m. So
Yeah, like 11 or 11:30. Whichever you want to do, man. How long's the episode?
it's like an hour something because there's a little bit of an after show where we were chatting with like it was premiered. Well, we played the clip on 24/7. There was a bunch of people watching it, and then we had a discussion about it afterwards. So it's a bit of a debate, and then a chat with Indio after it as well, where he goes over some of the validating the like the height of his camera, because the debate was pretty much using Indio's observation that he took with the infrared and the boat at 10 miles. So yeah, hour, and that goes for an hour.
Indio lies all the time. That was their cope.
Yeah. Oh, they had a new cope yesterday. They're saying that there was cuts in the footage, and anything that has cuts in the footage can't be used. And I posted the video. I'm like, where the hell's the cut, bro? I know, I showed it. Like, you guys got a new cope every day. Like, there's no cuts in the footage. And so are you guys saying that we can't use any SpaceX footage or anything like that because there's cuts every 2 seconds?
That might be just so. I use a program like to trim down videos. It's only really for trimming. It's called lossless cut. It doesn't even convert. It just cuts them, right? It just writes new headers. It doesn't even reconvert the video or do anything like that. That's why I use it, because it's quick, right? It's just seconds of writing a new file. So it's not even a conversion. So it's not converted into a new compression algorithm. There's nothing changed. It's literally straight out the camera. Dude, it's crazy that I have to be like paranoid about global excuses when I do everything. Right. So when I make the podcast, I'm like, nope, someone swore I can't use this because I'd have to cut it. And then I don't want to clip it because then they'll say I'm freaking cherry picking audio. So all the audio I put is on the podcast is continuous. Right. So they can't say I cut it and took somebody out of context or some garbage.
The double standard is out of control.
That's okay. It's okay though, DJ. It just makes us more rigorous. That's all. Which they're only they're only helping us reinforce it, right? Because if we take their ridiculous rigorous standard, right? Then when we actually present stuff like the fishing boat, all bases are covered, right?
That's true.
Yep. Oh yeah, these anti-flat earthers, right? They don't realize how much they've helped us iron out any flaws in any of when we present information. We make sure we get everything precise because we know how they're going to nitpick it. So they're actually shooting themselves in the foot even more.
Dude, they nitpick more than women, which is weird. It kind of goes with the freaking gender bending that seems to be pervasive in their circles. So would you say, DJ, 2 hours? Is that when you're doing it?
I just checked. It's 51 minutes from now. 11:30 New York time.
All right, word.
What's going on? I'm hearing coordinate reference systems and WGS 84. What's happening?
We're talking about the what McToon was talking about yesterday with the laser rangefinder. He's claiming that those the laser rangefinder distances match perfectly with the globe coordinates that he used. So therefore, the Earth's a globe.
Oh yeah, circular logic. How do you know where your laser rangefinder is? Well, I use the globe coordinate system. Okay.
Well, he's just saying the distances match the globe map, and his challenge was
distance?
that flat earthers have to use the Gleason map because all flat earthers claim that the Gleason map is the flat Earth map.
Oh,
and then
that BS.
You have to use the Gleason map and calculate the distance on the Gleason map. And he said that he did that, and it's off by 50 meters on the Gleason map, therefore debunking.
Yeah, not realizing it's circular because it's also a globe. You know, spherical.
Mm-hmm.
Well, did you see what I posted, Yoder? I did his challenge. I converted the latitude and longitude back into ECEF coordinates and then got the distance from that.
Oh.
Yeah, so like he doesn't understand that the GPS coordinate he got was ECEF in the first place, and he converted it into spherical coordinates. Now at that distance, which is like only 500 meters, or maybe 1,500 meters, whatever it was, it's so short. It's not going to be, even if the Earth was a globe, in doing in ECF, it's like the arc length versus the straight line length. There's going to be fucking almost no difference. It's going to be negligible.
Yeah, you need to go out like 11 decimal places.
Yeah. So, I mean, I forgot that the part of the challenge was the Gleasons. I'll cover that. I can do that next.
Yeah, the non-uniform graduating scale.
Well, I don't have to use it. I mean, there's a way to do it without that. There's I mean, you couldn't zoom in on the map. Well, you wouldn't be able to see it on
and calculate the
map.
distance.
Like, how would
if you would?
Well, you can't zoom in on the Gleason's map enough to like measure it on the Gleason's map. How would you zoom in to that level of precision? To 1,500
down
meters.
to 500 meters, yeah.
Yes, 513 meters. Like, how are you gonna zoom in to that level to use the Gleason's map? And you couldn't do it on a globe either, right?
Right.
So if you plotted out the same coordinates on the Gleason map, wouldn't it be the exact same distance? It's just the same thing. Just
Yeah, it would be the identical distance, but you have to, like, you can't actually use the physical map. You have to use an abstraction. That's what the GPS coordinates are. It's a double layer abstraction. It's Earth-centered, Earth-fixed, abstracted into freaking coordinate converted into latitude and longitude. It's not actually a globe measurement per se. It's actually not at all, quite honestly.
Would it be triple because there's east, north, up, and down? The receiver.
Yeah, I posted
point of origin.
Yeah, in the side chat. All I did was I just told freaking Gemini, take these two coordinates, convert them into ECF, and tell me the distance and show your work. It's freaking pretty simple. And I did it. I guess I could have went and I actually do have a PDF with all the coordinate conversions. Fucking dude, it's like 800 pages of like 100 coordinate conversion fucking formulas. I'm not combing through that, dude. I got shit to do today.
Yeah, they hide the error, man. They conceal it. They use short distances. It's like, I think Jesse, Path of Light, used a meter wheel, where you roll it along the ground and you measure distance. And he measured out over a street a mile, and then did some, I think, an astronomical observation or something, and calculated one arc minute of stellar direction change. Is it up there? 469 to 1.
It matched perfectly, right?
Matched perfectly, yeah.
Way beyond the precision of his instruments. He used a freaking odometer, like one of those wheels which has like a crazy slippage, right?
Yeah, like used for football
I
field.
looked these things up, bro. I looked up these wheels, right? Like they're accurate, especially they get. It doesn't matter if you're measuring a football field, right? Doesn't matter, right? It's fucking a yard maybe difference. But when you're measuring in football field, it's super flat. But when you're measuring something like that, I've seen like the error margin is something like 10% plus or minus, and then the observation of the star, that depends on the weather condition, how accurate that is. Right? That's just why they use telescopes on tops of mountains. Right? Where they have good quote unquote seeing. Because the imprecision of the instrument if it's on the ground. How is numbers
error tolerance do we need to work with here too, right? I mean, it's
like how is his numbers are perfect, dude? Like a professional astronomer and surveyor, like it could be in the same person, couldn't get a fucking exact match.
Yeah,
no matter
you
what
could
they
read the
did,
North
even if
American
they
Arc
tried
of the
10,000.
Parallel.
Yeah, there's like you could do that 100,000 times and not get an exact match.
In these old surveying expeditions, they'd set up a campsite and stay there for like 2 weeks, taking a handful of observations the whole time.
Yeah, they did the same thing in the Himalayas, and the fucking the North American survey. These were expeditions. These weren't dude fucking driving down to the lake, right? At fucking 2 p.m. trying to get an observation in before the sun sets. These dudes were like hanging. They lived there. You know what I mean? Have you seen some of the huts they built? There's still one on top of Mount Washington in New Hampshire.
Yeah, and like stone firewalls they build, and God knows how many latrines dug.
Ew, gross. That's why you hope like your mountain has just like a cliff on one side, so you can just chuck it off the edge. Don't worry about
Funny.
that. It's a 2,000-foot drop. Who cares who's down there? No, so the one on Mount Washington is the one where they recorded the 250-mile-an-hour winds or whatever. That's like a survey place they built with wood. I'd like to know how they got the wood up there in the first place. Wait, because the top of the mountain is barren because of the wind, right? The wind has stripped all the trees away.
Yeah, and they're sitting up there with pendulums and plumb lines. How about that French expedition in like the mid 1700s to Lapland and then to Peru to settle the debate between prolate and oblate? I mean, considering the time frame, the lack of infrastructure, like you're really like sending crews expeditionary through the jungle in southern Peru.
Dude, that must have sucked to do that if they actually did it. They were like, we hate you. We're sending you to the two places with the most mosquitoes in the world.
Yeah.
Dude, when that perma fucking frost starts thawing, dude, that's like a mosquito hell, right? And then Peru? Come on, dude. The mosquitoes are like the size of helicopters down there, I bet.
Yeah, like what happens if you get a toothache? What happens if you step on a rock funny and break an ankle? Like none of that seemed to happen.
Oh, you're like a dead man.
In Minnesota, the mosquito's a state bird.
Oh, jeez.
You ever see the Amistad episode of Family Guy? It's so funny because he like gets a splinter. He's like, "Oh no, I got a splinter. It was nice knowing you guys." Because so many people would die of infections as he was just like, "I'm dead. I got a splinter." Oh, Chris, I did McEwen's challenge. I didn't use the Gleason's map though. But
That's all right. He'll get over it, or he won't.
now, Yoder, why after all this time do these guys, including the alleged surveyors, not understand coordinate systems and maps? After all this time.
I was just ruminating the same thought right now.
No way, really? Well, yeah.
Yeah, really. I was thinking about the difference between the Clark ellipsoid and WGS 84. How the dimensions given of these datums set constraints on the distances between coordinate reference nodes. So it predetermines how far away you should have certain objects within your ability to measure their distance and snap them to grid, so to speak.
Yeah, it's a scaling factor.
Exactly. And what I find remarkable is that there's a 0.0023% difference in scale between the Clark of 1866 and WGS 84. What are the chances?
Well, if you get the USGS sheets, right? So they like have the sheet for each survey marker. You can go on the internet now, but you could actually order them at one point. You know, whatever control marker, like, hey, there's a control marker, here's this number. You could get the fucking sheet for it, and it would have every time the coordinate was changed. Each one of those has a scaling factor listed on it. This is something Chris Matra, who's a flat earther, brought up a long time ago, that all these geodetic markers have scaling factors. And it's not one scaling factor for all of them, right? So they're scaling and rescaling the coordinate system at each location.
Which means the calculated map distance. So what they do is they get coordinate A and coordinate B. They assume the ellipsoid, they assume the scaling, and they calculate the distance. And then everybody thinks that's a measurement.
Yeah, and this is why gray circle routes are bunk, and they're good enough maybe for practical purposes if someone actually could fly in a straight line between point A and point B. But who cares? Say the difference, say the difference is 200 nautical miles. You're flying, supposed to be 1,200 nautical miles, and it ends up being 1,400 nautical miles. How would you even tell?
Exactly. Yeah, like I was just talking to Phil today and yesterday, Professor Phil in DMs. How do you verify the distance between like New York and Paris in this way? You know, if you're going to use the same or similar coordinate reference grid to do it, how do you tell which one is correct relative to the other?
You know how you can tell? Because you get on a plane, they're speaking English, and then when you get off the plane, they're speaking French. That's how. Proof of a globe. They speak different languages but when you get on and off the plane.
Yep, it's ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, these people know the process and the system that they're working with, and yet it never dawned on them. Like they never really thought about what they were doing with it. They just feel confidently justified in doing it.
They're eating their freaking steak in the Matrix, dude. They don't care. They want to be plugged right back in. Even if they understand it, they refuse to understand it. I mean, they were like, I can understand this, but I refuse to let the consequences of my understanding actually rest within my brain.
A really good point yesterday when he was talking. And he was describing how the GPS system provides continuous corrections as it's being used. It's absolutely true.
What's its polling rate, you know?
Yeah, and then what is it correcting during each poll?
How is it correcting it? Is it doing like a new measurement, or is it doing some averaging, or is it doing a mean, or is it doing who knows what it's like least squares? Like how is it? Because I'm assuming, right? So like you have a polling rate of like it takes 100 messages per second or something, maybe a minute. I don't know. It has to be slow because then the GPS would fucking use all the power. Your battery would go dead. Has to be slow, dude. It has to be like once. I think the polling rate might be once every 30 seconds. I remember I had a Garmin. Man, that thing was a piece of shit. Never worked right. Maybe it did work right. Fucking couldn't get a goddamn on top of a goddamn mountain. I couldn't get a GPS signal. Anyway, it's neither here nor there. The point is that in the Garmin manual, it said that it only searches for satellites once every 60 seconds. But that doesn't tell you what it does after it finds them. I don't know. And by searching for satellite means just looking for, the radio transmission and the other ones.
But they're hooked into like a lot of these are integrated systems, the accelerometers and gyros, like ring laser gyros and the fancier aviation stuff. And so the polling rate includes receiving all of the information that's being gathered from telemetry, the telematics, and then integrating it into a system that provides WGS 84 coordinates. It has one job to do, and that's put you somewhere there. And no matter what you may actually be doing. So yesterday, I was describing this hypothetical. Suppose you take like suppose you take a geodesic connecting New York to Paris. And along the geodesic, you grab 4 sets of coordinates, 2 pairs. Call them points A and B, and then point X and Y. And these coordinate pairs are both of equal arc lengths along the geodesic. You can calculate their arc length just fine using, the geodesic itself, the coordinate reference grid, using Haversine, whatever. Now, what's to say that A, B, and X and Y are actually equal lengths in real life? How do you determine that? So, if I was to audit the system, if I was to audit the system, this would be one thing I would recommend doing is I'd take a bunch of these arc segments that are supposed to be of equal length, and then I'd measure them using, I don't know, lasers or something.
I mean, you'd be measuring the chord, right? So, yeah, I mean, that would be good enough to measure. If you assume that it's a chord between point to point, only one arc would really fit the chord.
Use DGPS or
I also don't understand how they don't understand that these lines of sight are straight lines. And then they're like, my line of sight matches the globe perfectly. Well, that's impossible because one's straight, the other's curved. Like, what are you talking about? Did you even think for 2 seconds? I don't know.
Smart ones will bring up that it's the dip that you're measuring. Because if you're to
the hypotenuse, you measure the hypotenuse of the triangle. Is that it?
Well,
yeah, because that would be if there was a horizon dip, right? So your straight line, your eye level line, and if there's a dip, right, that's the hypotenuse of a triangle. The other end of you're at one point of the triangle, and the eye level line is one side, and the dip line of sight to the horizon is another side, and the dip height, distance, whatever you want to call it, would be the base, if you want to call it that. It's like an upside down triangle where the base is the line of sight of the eye level. But
So,
yeah, it
yeah,
would be a different distance, right?
well, yeah, you've got right, you've got the straight line, but what they're claiming to do is basically they've got their tripod, and it's on a swivel head where the optic is on the swivel head, and they have to tilt down a certain number of degrees to get the first point, and then they swivel it over to the left, by a certain number of degrees and grab another point of observation with the head still pointed down. That swivel is still perpendicular to local vertical. If you didn't lock the head to the tripod, but could swivel the head in place and you tilted it down and then you swung it to the left, it would swing. It would, like an ecliptic, it'd go up a certain number of degrees, and you'd have to tilt and rotate it back down to get it to the point of interest. Now, I don't think they make these things such that you can lock the swivel to the head itself, to the optic that is tilted, but the swivel is affixed to the leg posts. So they need a way to, if they wanted to confirm tilt and all of that, the dip, they'd have to also be able to measure like the ecliptic and the rotation of the optical head. It's hard to explain. I'd have to visually.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, because if it's not, it'll trace an oval. It'll trace an arc, right? If you rotate it,
right. And so if you're
level
down,
oh, this is something. Fuck, Sly Sparkade, right? This was one of his. He interviewed Mike Cavanaugh about the laser test, and he was like, "How do we know it wasn't level?" Right? And then after he interviewed him, he like part of that video, he shows a little test like, "Hey, this thing's not level." Well, if it's not level, when you rotate it, it'll trace a fucking arc. It won't pan horizontally sideways. It'll go up and then back down, right? So when he panned horizontally sideways, he wouldn't have been able to hit the other side, because he would have arced up and then arced back down, because he's not level, right? He's rotating on a fucking tilted plane relative to the surface of the Earth, right? So
exactly.
that, like,
Yep.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, so if you're, for hypothetical, let's say you were tilted down 1 degree to your point of interest, and you rotate 90 degrees to the left, your optical head rotating along that same ecliptic would then be at 0 degrees, and if you go 180, then it's a positive 1 degrees. As you go to 270, it'll be back to 0, and then back all the way around 360 degrees. You'll come back to where you started, -1 degree.
Yeah. Of course.
It'll also be rotated relative to the true plane of reference as well.
Yeah, you'll get a tilt. You'll get a tilt in it.
Right. Be off level.
Yeah, but the laser wasn't level. Doesn't matter if it was fucking level. Like, that is the most disingenuous objection to that laser test, is that it not being level. Like, you tell me how to I have a laser. There's a hill. I want to shoot somebody in the eye that's on the other side of the hill. I can't see them. Tell me how to unlevel the laser and shine the laser just right so I hit them in the eye. Yeah, you can't do that. It doesn't, like, this is a distance where level doesn't matter. Level only matters in front of the horizon. Doesn't matter after the horizon. Sorry that. I got a lot of pent up frustration about that one because we argued about that for like 4 fucking years, dude. And it is the most disingenuous nonsense. Either you don't understand any basic geometry or what's being done or the experiment, and you're just trying to obscure the truth.
That seems to be the case to me.
The ones that are trying intentionally to obscure the truth. The hard part is differentiating who is who.
But I think a lot of the super fans who pretend to be as intelligent on this don't really know anything. But some of these guys,
the groupies?
Yeah, the groupies, but yeah, some of these influencer types, I think they know exactly what they're doing.
Yeah. Well,
And,
yeah,
you know,
I take
it probably
for
feels
granted they
justified
do.
doing it as Helmer.
Yeah. I mean, I assume that all the ones that are out there, right? Professor Dave, Simon Dan, you know, the who's who, McToon, and all those. I assume that they're going to be dishonest if forced to be, because they're making a living off this crap. So that's just normal human behavior, right? This is my brand. I can't concede because it will destroy my brand. So I have to obscure the truth. That's at least justifiable to a point. You know, you're a sellout, but you know, what else is new? Welcome to America. They were freaking home of the sellout. We invented selling out.